Good evening. I will call to order the Finance Committee meeting on November 10th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. We have 4 items on the agenda this evening. We have a transfer request in the amount of $326,352.86 to fund the remaining balance of the collective bargaining MMEA. We also have a transfer request in the amount of $337,345.98 to fund various accounts in the Collective Bargaining Public Works Equipment Operators Association. We also have a transfer request in the amount of $500,000 to the Workers' Compensation Fund. And then last, we have a transfer request in the amount of $612,390.56 to fund the remaining balance of the local 1714 International Associations of the Firefighters, AFL-CIO, CLC. I'll begin with order number 100-9560, transfer request in the amount of $326,352.86 from the free cash to various accounts to fund the remaining balance of the collective bargaining agreement with the Marlboro Employees Association, MMEA. And I will open that up to any discussion from the Finance Committee. We did fund this in 2025, and this is the remaining going forward for the FY 2026 budget. Councilor Biden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to accept the transfer request in the amount of $326,352.86.
Motion has been made, and I will second that to approve order number 100-9560, transfer request in the amount of $326,352.86 from free cash to various accounts to fund the remaining balance of the collective bargaining agreement with the Marlboro Employees Association, MMEA. Any further discussion?
Chairman.
Oh, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to point out to the council, so again, the reason we're funding this at fiscal year 26 is it didn't make the fiscal year 25 budget. The contract was approved after the mayor had submitted the budget. But I found it interesting in the difference each year makes. So for fiscal year 25, we approved a transfer of $246,000 to fund the fiscal year 25 portion of the MMEA contract. This one you can see is to fund the fiscal year 26 portion of the contract, which is $326,000, so an increase of over $78,000. So just, again, it gets expensive, and it builds on each one as it goes. In the fiscal year 27, you're not going to see because it's going to be baked into the mayor's fiscal year 27 budget, but if you total all the line items that are going to be increasing, it'll be more than the $326,000, all right? And I say this because we need revenue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Good point, Mr. President. A motion has been made and second. Councilor Brown.
Thank you. I have a question, and it would pretty much pertain to any of the 3 items that have to do with the transfer for the remaining balances of collective bargaining agreements. I was just wondering if all of the positions are filled positions, and if there were any retirements possibly happening where new hires would potentially be coming in at a lower pay or just an unfilled position.
I would check with the mayor on that. I'm not aware of any retirements at this point.
I know that would already probably be in the plans. It was just something I wanted to consider.
I didn't hear the complete question, so if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. I was just wondering, so for the 3 items that were for collective bargaining agreements, are all of the positions in each of the line items currently filled, and are there any retirements potentially coming down the line that you might not have been aware of during like the budget season?
We're funding what is filled currently, and I have not heard. These are all union employees, so I don't. Department heads are a little different, so we're non-union, so as far as I know, I don't see any movement thus far.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Brown.
Thank you.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. None opposed. Thank you. Moving on to order number 25-100-9561, a transfer request in the amount of $337,345.98 from free cash to various accounts to fund the remaining balance of the collective bargaining agreement with the Public Works Operators Association. I will read the quick letter submitted by the mayor. Honorable President Ossing and councilors, I'm submitting for your review and approval a transfer to fund the remaining collective bargaining agreement between the city and the Marlborough Public Works Equipment Operators Association. We're requesting a transfer of $337,345.98 from the undesignated fund line item for the fiscal year 2026. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact my office. Sincerely, J. Christian, Mayor. And I'll open that up to any councilors on the finance team. Oh, Council, I'm sorry, Council.
Thank you. So I had the same question for this, which the mayor had already answered, and I was just kind of looking at the amounts, and then I see that there is some background work that is here. So I think potentially another counselor might have something that they want to ask, but I was just wondering if this is also, as you had said in the previous item, is this something that has happened before in previous years, or is it a different timing on the agreement?
We like President Ossing mentioned first, we did fund it for 2025. These things were not funded when we were doing the budget because of contractual agreements. So now the mayor's coming to us requesting this out of the undesignated fund because as a finance team, we did cut the reserve for salary line item in that budget, some of the funds in that.
Okay, I do remember that. Thank you.
Mr. President.
If the finance team's done. So, councilors, I put before you some suggested adjustments to the transfer, specifically eliminating all the overtime transfers. If you recall, when we approved the command officers, the police officers, the engineers, and the foreman contracts, they were all done prior to the mayor submitting the budget. When the mayor submitted the budget, none of the overtime accounts were adjusted. In this particular transfer, in the 5 departments listed, streets, fleets, parks, Westerly wastewater treatment plant, and the water department, there's transfers ranging from $40 to $8,000, totaling $21,187.03. I would strongly recommend the council not approve those and eliminate those from the transfer for a couple of simple reasons. If you see below on the piece of paper, all those departments are significantly underspending their salary line items because they just can't find people to hire. Not a bad thing, but it is. But to add more money into something that they do not need, that we didn't do for the other departments, I don't think is doing the taxpayers any service. So I would hope a finance committee member would take that motion and reduce the transfer by $21,187.03. And I will note, the fiscal year 25 transfer was $158,000 for the equipment operators. This one's $337,000, so an increase of $178,000. And again, I'm trying to drive home the point, prices are going up, and if we don't have revenue coming in, there's only one other place we're gonna get it, because the council has shown they will not cut the budget. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would certainly support that. Councilor Ficillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also going and taking a look, I know, for example, fleet maintenance, overtime regular, hasn't been spent at all throughout the cycle. So to echo, Councilor Ossing's point here, I make a motion to reduce the Public Works Equipment Operator transfer by $21,187.03, to reduce the undesignated transfer from $337,345.98 to $316,158.95.
Thank you, Councilor. I will second that on order number 25-100-9561. Motion seconded to reduce the Public Works Equipment Operators transfer by $21,187.03, as indicated above, and reduce the undesignated transfer from $337,345.98 to an amount of $316,158.95.
Mr. Chair?
Any further discussion? Council Biden?
Thank you. May I address the President?
Yes.
Mr. President, what, if all these streets 118, 29, 89, all these under budgeted line items for salaries, why only cut it by 21,000? Couldn't it be more than that?
So the simple answer is yes, but I wouldn't recommend it. Because you're going to set the rest of the items up with what the true salaries are for fiscal year '26. The departments will still be moving money around. You're going to see mid-year transfers that'll adjust some of the funds, as well as end-of-the-year transfers that are going to adjust some of the funds. So, I mean, I will tell you right now, we will underrun the salary accounts throughout the city. You know, last year was by $2 million, but we ended up siphoning, simmering, I don't want to say that, taking some of it off and moving it to other accounts because they spend more on other ones, which is how which is how it works, and I get it. But I would not recommend that. You're very astute, Councilor Vital, but I wouldn't recommend doing that for the other accounts. I would let that ride.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for the clarification on that, Mr. President. Motion is made and seconded. Councilor Orm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question, I wanted to hear from the mayor, if we could, how this would affect these budgets. Obviously, if they're underrun, we can come back and address this before the fiscal year is out. But I haven't had or heard any input from the comptroller or the mayor who's in the audience.
Thank you.
If I could maybe ask that question through you, Mr. Chair, to the mayor.
Yep. Good evening,
How
Mr. Mayor.
this cut would it be something that we find you coming back at the end of the fiscal year asking for the funds if you ran out?
We will make it work, and I appreciate the council always be willing to support if we need to do a year-end transfer. So just keep that in mind. So we will do whatever we can, and we'll make this work. So
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you.
Motion was made. Oh, Councilor Roby, sorry, Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilor Ossing, in looking at what we received as the documents with the numbers and in looking what you have, I believe you really mean 51310, not 00 is the ending number on all the overtimes that I can see on here. And I think you need to specify the number for the Public Works Equipment Operator, which I'm guessing is 50740 is the line you want to take it from?
I would agree with the first statement, that the one is missing, which is fine. I'll acknowledge that. I don't understand the second question. It's the same overtime account, and all four, the account number is the same.
Well, you've got a motion to reduce the Public Works Operator transfer by $21,187.03. So you're taking
Indicated above.
all of these, but you're not reducing these individual lines. You're only reducing one line by 21,000?
No, by the 5 items listed.
The individual items.
So there is a line called Equipment Operator. That's what's confusing me. So it should say reduce the lines from the requested transfer as listed above, and forget the Public Works Equipment Operator?
Says as indicated above, but I'll word it whatever you want, as long as you cut $21,000 out of the overtime.
Well, I just want to make sure that you're doing it by 5 individual lines versus one line.
I think it is.
Yes, to me, that's how I read it, but if you want it written a different way, I'll be happy to, well, it's not my job, that's their job. You can write it any way you want, but those 5 transfers that are individually specified on the transfer sheet should be zeroed out.
Okay, thank you. And then just note that it's 51310.
And motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0 opposed. That carries. Next up is order number 25-100-9562. Transfer request in the amount of $500,000 from free cash to the Workers' Compensation Fund to address a projected shortfall is noted by the comptroller. I'll read the letter submitted by the mayor. And this was from the comptroller. Dear Mayor Dumas, I respectfully request the city transfer of $500,000 from free cash account to the Workmen's Compensation Fund to cover the projected deficit in the trust. There are several outstanding claims against this account, which will likely cause a deficit this fiscal year. This trust is funded through the budget process by means of accounts from the city, the school, the sewer, and the water. Unfortunately, these line items have been reduced throughout the years, making this transfer necessary. Also, to build the fund back up, I will be recommending the line item for the workers' compensation to be increased in fiscal year 2027 budget. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. Respectfully, Brian Delaney, Comptroller. Good evening, Mr. Comptroller. Good evening, Brian. If you could just fill us in a little bit on this. I understand how the process works, but obviously throughout this budget, throughout the year, there's been more of an increase in the spending in this account.
Sure. So this trust fund is similar to the health trust fund in that you accumulate a balance and then you spend off of that balance going forward. So just kind of a point of reference, when I was here in 20, we were putting 1.3 million in this account. In 21, it was 1.1 million. In 22, it was 0. 23, it was 0. 24, it was 0. Last year was 500,000. And this year, again, in the budget, it's 500,000. So there's a $1 million deductible on this policy. So the trust fund really should have $1 million in it to cover any claim up to $1 million. Above that, we have excess rider insurance, and that's what covers the major catastrophe. So this covers the payroll and all the medical claims. It also, in the past, has been used for investigations and things of that nature. So this fund needs to be balanced so that we can operate to cover extreme cases.
Thank you, Brian. I wasn't even thinking about investigational processes going forward as well. I never thought, I know rehabbing and things like that. Thank you, Brian, for that. So you're looking at in the budget having $1 million in the budget for that line item?
In the trust fund itself.
The trust fund itself.
So, like I said, back in the day, we were putting, 1.3, 1.1 million in there to cover medical claims, all the expenses, and leave a balance of over $1 million in that trust fund. So that if you did have a claim that was, unfortunate that you needed to cover that, the city could cover that without trying to go to free cash or retained or, reserve accounts or whatnot.
Thank you. Council Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Controller, our workers' comp, do we outsource the management of claims?
We do. We use Future Comp to outsource our management of it. They work on negotiating the claim and they work on the medical part of it. So if the bill comes in for, we'll say, $100,000 medical, they go after the thing and try to get a better discount, which they have done and very successful to reduce that cost.
Do they get a flat rate or do they get a percentage of savings?
I believe they get a flat rate through Future Comp. I don't believe they get anything off the claims or any of that nature.
The other thing, as you know, we don't see the line items in the school budget. Does the school budget have a line item for workers' comp?
So we do have a workers' comp line item for them, and in it this year, it's $470,000 that goes into the trust fund. So it's it's account 13102003-51710.
So does that indicate that the claims seem to be coming from the school department or?
Not necessarily. They're from all over the city. We do break it down between police, fire, school, city, and we also cover CDA and that nature, the housing.
Did you see any major things that jumped out at you at one department that would maybe benefit from safety trainings and other type?
We are looking into that. We have talked about that. There is some education that I think needs to be done with one of the areas.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you had mentioned that there's somebody who helps with, or they're contracted to do claims and including medical. Do they also provide subrogation services to reclaim money?
So they'll work with the lawyer and the lawyers and fight the cases to plead them out. So normally if you have a large claim or a claim that's ongoing, you try to settle it. And, you know, sometimes that's a big hit. So you need to make sure you have enough in the trust fund in order to pay that claim out. Otherwise you can't settle and it just prolongs and prolongs and prolongs.
Thank you. I was just wondering if they also, if there's ever any situations where we pay out on a claim, but then find that maybe another insurance carrier or a different person might also be, I guess, at fault and would have to pay on the claim. Would we be able, or is there anybody who goes after those funds to bring them back to us?
They would investigate that also. Normally when you do the settlement, you bring in all those parties
Okay.
and try to settle it at that time, and everyone pays a piece of it.
Okay, and then those funds, would they just go back to the trust if we were to get?
That's correct.
Okay,
Any reimbursement will come back to the trust.
great, thank you. And I would be happy to move to approve barring any further conversation. Thank you.
Motion has been made and seconded. I will approve the order number 100-9562, which is a transfer request in the amount of $500,000 from free cash to workers' compensation fund to address a projected shortfall as noted by the comptroller. Any further discussion? Councilor Orr.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I was very interested in hearing what Brian was saying about the funding that occurred, especially in 2022, 2023, and 2024 at zero each year. What were the balances in those years? Did we still have a healthy trust fund in those years?
I'd have to look. I didn't look at
You
each
don't know
detailed
that.
year. I know when I left, it was over $1 million, and I know when I came back, I think projected is 156,000, but that run rate's running high. I'm projecting a loss if it runs the way it is. That's why I'm asking for the funds.
Yeah, no, understandable. So you're looking at a comfort zone of 1 million in the trust. By the end of the year, the rundown would be $1 million.
It'll probably take 3 years in order to get it back where, to that $1 million level.
It will. So that tells me we have a lot of cases to resolve.
I'm not gonna hit the budget in 1 year. You know, it took 3 years of zeros. I'm gonna take 3 years to get it back to where it needs to. I mean, if we have an exorbitant amount of free cash or some excess funds, you know, I would probably ask to tap into those. But in the current budget restraints that we have, I'd probably try to grab $200,000 more additional to build that up over the next couple of years.
And I appreciate you looking into this instead of being shocked in another year or so. So that's good, being proactive. I appreciate the proactiveness on this. Another question that came up on safety. I know the Mass Municipal Association, through their insurance agency, offers training and so forth. I'm not sure if we're entertaining those services from MMA, and I believe you can get also some rebates, or whatever you wish to call them, if you have that training completed. Where do you know where we stand, or maybe the mayor
I
does?
do. So we do rewards with them. I think that's what you're talking about, the rewards credits.
Thank you.
You know, so myself and the procurement officer just talked with Meyer probably less than a month ago regarding that, and looking even to see maybe we don't self-insure workers' comp. Maybe we try to use Meyer as an option with workers' comp. Trying to get looking at all avenues. But we definitely do the training. A lot of it's, you know, DPW and driving and things of that nature. But there are some other ones that apply for those credits.
Well,
We
money-
do well with the credits.
And money can't buy you back, say if you lost your eye or something. So I really appreciate the city continuing to stress safety training. So important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Mr. Chair.
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My apologies for being late. It might have been covered sooner. But how frequent are these large settlements? I mean, is this something that happens every couple of years or a couple of years? Like a couple of every year?
I can't really say. There has been one this year settled. I know there's 2 that may try to settle. It seems to kind of come in waves, tell you the truth, from my history in the past.
You've
You
been
know,
here
you go
long
a little
enough, I think
while,
it's
you don't have many, then the next year you get clobbed. And I think that's part of the problem why they were doing zeros. You know, they might have had some good years then, and they're like, well, we don't see the run. So, you know, I look very forward-thinking, especially with the reserve accounts. And that might have been the case, and now they're catching up to us.
Thank you, Council. Council Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian, for fiscal year '26 in our current budget, between the city, school, water, and sewer department workers' comp accounts, we funded it at a little over $500,000. So this transfer will make it over $1 million. What would you be projecting for fiscal year '27 for those 4 workers' comp accounts?
I'm probably gonna add $200,000 to that line, those line items going forward, to add $200,000 each fiscal year in order to get that closer to $1 million after 3 years.
Okay, so again, councilors, another increase to the budget, just to be aware of, that's coming to fund this? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council Roby.
So, Brian, can you clarify, is the trust fund the same thing as the line item in our budget?
No, so the trust fund is a separate account, like the health insurance, and we hit the line items for the activity, but everything goes through the trust fund.
So the 500,000 just referenced in our budget is different than you said 100,000 in the trust fund currently?
So what I do is I do a transfer through the Diane's office, the accounting office, and transfer the funds from these line items into the trust fund.
Okay.
And then we expense out of the trust fund. Very same way we do health insurance.
Okay, so it does become the trust fund.
That is correct.
So the 500,000 that's in there now, plus this 500,000 does get us to $1 million, doesn't it?
Correct, but I anticipate a run rate of $600,000 in medical, $300,000 in salaries. So I'm gonna eat up $900,000 of that.
Okay, and would you anticipate then every year we would add that 500,000 again?
I'm probably next year gonna ask for $700,000, hopefully not through free cash. I'm gonna try to do it outside in the budget, but like I mentioned, unless there's some large claims that I have to come before you sooner, or if we have excess free cash that could take a little bit off to help this out, I would look into that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilor. Motion is made and seconded. All in favor? Carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Next up is order number 25-100-9563, a transfer request in the amount of $612,390.56 for transfer from free reserve for salaries and free cash to various accounts to fund the remaining balance of the collective bargaining agreement with the local 1714 International Associations of Firefighters, AFL-CIO CLC. And I'll briefly read the letter submitted by the mayor. Honorable President Ossing and councilors, I'm submitting for your review and approval a transfer from reserve for salaries from the undesignated fund to fund the remaining balance of the collective bargaining agreement for the fiscal year 2026 between the city and the local 1714 International Associations of Firefighters, AFL-CIO CLC, in the amount of $612,390.56. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and contact my office, J. Christian Dumas, Mayor. And I'll open that up to the finance team with any questions. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just similar to the previous item, I know Councilor Ossing had submitted something, and I just want to say out of that I would support this additional reduction similar to the one presented before, because I think, as President Ossing had mentioned, with all of the increases and transferring money out of the undesignated account, I feel like this would be the most prudent thing to do, and it doesn't look like it would put any department in a bad situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On that same note, I agree with Councilor Brown and on Councilor Ossing's addition here, or I should say reduction. And looking at the accounts now, I mean, additional gross overtime has 371,000, overtime vehicle 37,000, and call fire overtime 89,000. So these accounts will be well funded even with this reduction. So on that, I move to reduce the fire department transfer by $49,746.89 as indicated above. So additional gross overtime, overtime vehicle maintenance, call fire OT, and to reduce the undesignated transfer to from $189,763.20 to $140,000, $140,016.31.
Thank you, Councilor. I will second that. Motion has been made and seconded on order number 25-100-9563 to reduce the fire department transfer by $49,746.89 as indicated above, and reduce the undesignated transfer from $189,763.20 to $140,016.31. The total transfer to be approved is $562,643.67. Any further discussion?
Mr.
President
Chairman.
Ossing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I want to thank Councilor Roby. I found where my mistake was. I copy and pasted the fire department overtime number. So thank you very much for finding that. My bad. Again, councilors, if you look, again, the fire department contract was approved after the mayor submitted the budget, and we approved a transfer for $240,000 to fund fiscal year '25. As you can see, fiscal year '26 is $612,000, so that's an additional $366,000 for fiscal year '26, and it's going to be even more for fiscal year '27. So again, I would encourage you not to increase these overtime accounts and delete the three items I have listed totaling over $49,000. There's sufficient funds in there now, and again, through October was $688,000 underspending salary line items. So there's money in the budget, should they need it, to move money around. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion's been made and seconded to approve. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It carries 5-0. Thank you, councilors. I will
I'm sorry, could you, I recommend that you do a suspension of the rules.
Thank you.
At November 17th meeting to approve all four items.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you for the reminder for all four. Is the Finance Committee okay with suspension? Thank you, Mr. President. And that did carry 5-0. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made and second to adjourn. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are adjourned at 7:03 p.m. Thank you, Finance.
I'm going to call the City Council Urban Affairs Committee meeting to order. It is 7:06 by my computer. We have multiple items on our agenda with the original posting and then additional posting and more additional postings. I'm going to start off with the posting of November 10th. It has the two items, the master sign plan, and then we'll start with Lazat Drive. So I'm going to call up, Scott Spalding is here from Viewpoint Sign, and I believe he said he has the owner with him, and we can go over. Also, I think, Karen, did you pass out the document I asked you to copy? Or did you give them all to me? Oh, okay, all right. Do you mind? No, Karen, sorry, because we had approved a prior master sign plan for 9/10, I'm sorry, first I should read the order. The first item on our agenda is order number 25-109-579, a request for approval of a master sign plan for 910 Boston Post Road East to include an internally illuminated pylon sign within the Wayside zoning district. So we had approved in 2023 a master sign plan for this site. So looking at it and looking at the information that we received, I was confused. So I talked to the building department today. The building commissioner's on vacation, but I talked to Ethan, one of the people. So the document that I'm passing out is his suggested, I can't make motions, but it was kind of his suggestion on how to word this to clarify exactly what we are approving. So I think, Mr. Spalding, if you want to go through what you gave us for signs.
Sure,
or
yeah,
what you-
so what spurned this is Raphael really wanted to put up a freestanding sign for his tenants as he's put a lot of money into the building, and now that it's become more of a retail storefront. Currently, there's a freestanding sign for Green Gold that's in the state easement that we would be removing upon approval. We did try to approach the state to see if we could put a sign there. The state basically said, we don't want to let you do anything. If we approve something prior, we don't care what you do with it, but we're not going to approve anything. So that's when we regrouped and came up with the freestanding sign before you, which is as of right, except the two things we're asking for are one, eternal illumination, and also relief from the 5-foot setback, as the sign's already set back 15 feet from the road. So we're putting it just not quite, but up to the property line. Basically further back from where the existing green gold freestanding sign is now. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. As part of this, I was told to come up with a master sign plan, so and you had brought up that, so I had originally approached the time, we have 4 sign bands in the building that are non-illuminated, and I tried to get a permit for it, but they were blank, and when I talked to the building inspector, he said, well, all these signs are in compliance in area, but because you're not putting any copy on them, you really can't file for a permit. So when tenants come in and put their copy up, that's when they would apply for a permit. So that's what the sign is there. And as you brought up to us, we weren't aware that a tenant went ahead, put something on the sign without applying for a permit, but we're going to take care of that with the tenant and let them know they either have to come in and apply for a permit for that sign, or it's going to have to come down.
Go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
I also listed the existing signage on the building that had been previously approved and permitted, most of that on the side of the building. Should tenants vacate those spots, Raphael's desire is to mimic what we did on the front of the building, so everything's uniformed, but it's kind of hard to go to them now and, tell them to take their signage down.
And it actually would be harder because the language that I have is taking the sign dimensions and the fact that they are illuminated specifically from the dimensions on this. So when I talk to the building department, if a new tenant comes in where green gold or Gray's Craze, they can change their information, but the sign stays there exactly as it is.
Correct, which with some of them are sign boxes, so that can be done, but where there's channel letters, that can't be done, and they'd have to conform. Or they'd have to come back, before council, I guess, as part of the change to the master sign plan. Not sure exactly how that would work, but,
Yeah, because it specifically gives it doesn't say what's on it because the signs don't matter what it says, it matters the size of the sign.
Correct.
So to make sure that the signs fit into the overall building and the square footage of the building, we know that these match. So the sign would be 54 wide by 160 for the channel letters. So long as, if you replace that, so long as it fit in that
yeah.
area, I think you're okay.
Yeah, but again, the desire is to, it's kind of a mishmash there on that side, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but his desire is to have everything uniform, so as you see the front, as tenants vacate new signage, the idea would be to match it and have it all uniform, sign band type of sign areas.
All right.
Same
so-
type of signage as
So
you see on the
maybe we
front.
take that one step at a time for now.
Sure.
The master sign plan is approving what exists and the language specifies it.
Yep.
Did I give you all the copies back, Karen? Because I don't have one now. And if you can give one to them so they have it. But basically, okay. I had driven by to look because I was curious about the pylon sign. So when I went back and looked at the original permit, it was also made clear that at that point they wanted an illuminated sign, but because it was not on the property of the owner at the time, they refused to allow it to be illuminated. So that's why the current pylon sign on 20 is not illuminated. Shifting it onto the property would allow it to be illuminated. The signs on the side of the building, we permitted to be illuminated. The ones on the front of the building are designed to not be illuminated, so that's why the language specifies. So,
Well, they're externally illuminated. Do we have lights over those? Were lights put over those?
At the Green Gold, yes, they do have internally illuminated.
No, I'm just talking about the signs in the front of the
No,
building.
it's not.
They're not.
and you could certainly add lights on the building with an electric permit to illuminate those, or you could put something on the ground to shine up. That's what we preferred when we designed the wayside zone, that signage not be internally illuminated. We've been approving permit requests to illuminate as they come in because we just seem to, especially if a strip mall has already existing internally, it's kind of hard to force a new tenant to say, no, you can't be. So I think that there is an understanding that we had already approved illuminated signage. I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to open it up to Councillor Navin for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question on what you were just saying. So I wasn't here when the Wayside District was done, but so that's mentioned when the Wayside District was created. Internally illuminated signs are preferred, or they are not allowed unless we approve?
The language says, within the Wayside Zoning District, Section 650-37I, 1D allows for only internally lit signage. The actual language says, signs, logos, or cabinets should be externally illuminated where possible, otherwise with translucent or transparent faces if no reasonable alternative is possible. So yes, they're supposed to be externally illuminated. We have approved multiple internally illuminated.
To my chagrin.
And then one that wasn't when we approved McDonald's.
Yep.
Wayside.
Okay.
Finished? Questions?
With questions, yes.
Okay.
Comments
Counselor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The problem is that the technology is chasing way ahead of us at this point. I think if we look at the simulated night view of this, you know, the letters are backlit. They're not lit from inside, but from behind, which is a very, very striking way to show a sign. So I think having this, detail, I think actually draws attention to the building. So I think that's actually very good. And it's a new type of lighting that I think we should actually consider including, or at least allowing within the district.
It's really referred to, it's not something new, it's been around, I've been doing this 32 years. It's called stencil cut, so basically your typical retail face is this big piece of plastic that lights up. This is a metal material where we only cut out the logo part of the sign, back it up with acrylic, so just the letters light up. It's more preferred at more boutique malls like you might see in Hyannis or Chestnut Hill, or and it's not as how do I put this, maybe as garish, where it's just like this big box lighting up. It's just really focused on the tenants, and it's not as intense. It's actually more legible, in my opinion. At the same time, that's more or less distracting. I did kind of design it this way, knowing that, the latter is not always preferred in that area.
So just to clarify, because you, as Viewpoint Sign and Awning, created this picture that shows the future tenant with really no detail because you don't have them for names, not that that really matters, but you've got sizing, you've got specifications, yet a tenant went to a different sign company and bought a sign. So there's nothing that makes them have to come to you to get their sign. They should go to the building permit, and then the building department would make sure that it matches what we're creating.
Yeah, I mean, that's entirely up to him, to who he makes, he gets a sign. Some landlords that we deal with do make them come to us, some don't. It's totally up in the air, but, they should have had him sign an authorization and, had him approve it, and the sign company should know that they have to come for a permit. I mean, that's, we had no knowledge of it.
And that's kind of why I added the specificity in this, what we're approving as the master sign plan. So although it doesn't specify, well, it does say you created the picture, but it doesn't say they have to go to you necessarily.
Correct.
But the sizes are there, so there are
Yeah, they're
4,
predetermined sizes.
and the others are existing, so.
Correct.
Unless you get a new tenant and there's a decision to do something different, we'll deal with that.
Those are static sign band areas that won't change, so whatever the tenant has, they have to fit it within that square footage, and that was part of my discussion. I wasn't gonna put up a bunch of blank, sign panels if they wouldn't comply with code. And I was told, no, you're fine, that just once copy goes on there, they have to come apply for a permit.
Right, and while the building is set back, the sign, the new pylon sign is going to be on 20, it's going to be lit, it's going to have the names of all the tenants on it with the lights. So as you're driving by, that's what's going to be your focus, not a sign on a building necessarily.
May I clarify, Chair? So the signs on front of the building, future tenant signs, those are the ones that you were just referring to?
Yes, sir, yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So just to quickly reconfirm, the 4 signs on the front of the building will be stencil cut. The pylon sign.
The four signs on the building are just static sign band frames that have inserts that have dimensional non-illuminated letters on them. That's what those are on the physical building.
So is that in line with kind of what what you see in the area? Is that like a panel that's backlit?
It was an aesthetic choice more than anything to just kind of, like I said, he's done a lot of work to the building and wanted to cross it more, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's semi-professional building front, and he was trying to, you know, bring in a certain
Brand it kind of
retail
universally.
clientele and just wanted to keep it simple, clean, and, you know,
I will-
black and white letters, that's what the choice is.
I will throw out, if you haven't driven by it, when you look at the building, those 4 black boxes are actually on the building
they are.
now. With, except for the one on the far right, nothing in them. The tenant on the far right did go and get a sign.
Yeah, and I should know, I mean, the investments that have been made in the property certainly have improved the physical appearance from the road, so kudos to the owner. And then, so the pylon sign is just your typical, that's your plastic coat with just the lights behind it?
Well, that's,
On the, where the
that's
future
where
tenant-
the stencil cut faces come in, where the background of the sign does not illuminate, just the letters. which
On
is
all the
what-
businesses, or just on the 910 Boston Post Road East?
on all the businesses as well. The 910 Boston Post Road East, I believe, and I've been working on this for over a year, so I apologize, are just halo lit letters. So the light comes out the back, or we did edge lit, where it's just around the edges, not face lit.
Okay. Thank you.
Counselor Preciado, did I see your hand?
Yes. Good evening. I have a couple questions. Do you have plans on having like a timer on this sign for hours of operation?
Well, all signs have some sort of timer or a light sensor, but whatever the code distinguishes when signs go off. I don't know if Marlboro, I can't remember off the top of my head. I deal with towns from here to California, so done a lot in Marlboro, but I can't remember the exact code, whatever the, you know, when are signs supposed to shut off? Does it have to do with operations? And I'm sure 24-hour ATMs and 24-hour places are different, but I would imagine everything's done there by midnight?
Midnight, or it can be done from like 7 to 7, you know.
So they won't be
dusk
running all
down.
night either way?
I mean, it's nice to have it on after business closes to give them some exposure that they're there, but I don't know what the code.
Yeah.
We actually did have in the language of the prior sign, all signs at the locations are to be turned off when the business is closed. So I think at this point, your longest open business would be the marijuana establishment. And it doesn't say when all businesses, and so I don't know about the other, the charcuterie, when they close. I don't, and I'm not sure about the,
Usually for
Pylon?
freestanding multi-tenant signs, there's usually I mean, it depends. Some you see on all night, some, if the town has a shut-off date on them. I know this because we went through this out in Michigan for Planet Fitness. That was actually a 24-hour Planet Fitness. And we had to go to ZBA to get permission to leave the sign on all night. But I don't know what Marlboro
I don't
code
think we
is.
have it. I'd have to double check. Does anybody have a preference? Do we want it?
I was
And
just
I
curious.
think I've seen other pylon signs on all night long. I mean, not that I'm roaming the streets at 5 o'clock in the morning to know
I
for
think at least
sure,
the-
but
Well, it wouldn't
The
be
address is
5 o'clock in the morning. I think, you know, just for consumption and, you know, usually the timers have them go off anywhere between 1 and 3 a.m. It depends upon the time of year, you know, when they go on. When they, you know, summer, it's like, you know,
right, the pylon, but
on till 8, and sometimes they,
but the signs above the doors on the side of the building that you can see if you're heading east,
Oh, I
those
have
can
no
be
idea
turned
what
off by the
they're-
tenant?
yeah.
When they
I mean, the
shut
tenants
down?
are controlling those.
That's correct. The tenants there have control of their
So
sign.
Raphael bought the building, they were already there, so whatever, I
So
can't
the
tell you when they're those are coming on or off.
Okay. So we could add in language that would be the three existing illuminating signs are turned off when the business is closed.
Madam
And I
Chair.
don't know if anybody cares about the pylon. Counselor Doucette?
Yeah, I would say make no reference to when these signs turn off and on, because they should just conform to whatever standards we have for the city. I don't want to make anything exceptional here. Just say, if we don't mention it, they have to live within the standards of the city. I'm fine with that.
Well, the current sign permit does mention it. It says that they're supposed to be turned off when the business is closed. So the 3 lit signs on the side of the building should not be on when the business isn't open.
Sure, but that's
Do we want to
not
continue with
part of
that
the pylon,
language?
is it?
I'm sorry?
That's not part of the pylon. We're just doing the pylon.
No, the pylon, well, that's what I'm asking. Do we care about the pylon? Can it just stay on?
I'm fine with it staying on.
With no language specific to the pylon? But we're okay with adding in the 3 illuminated signs are to be turned off when the business is closed.
I think if it was a way to have it so that the address part of the business is on and underneath is closed, that would be good when the businesses are off.
I agree, I was just about to
And
say the same.
it's hard to tell with your pylon whether, the description says it's internally illuminated, but it doesn't say whether the top is, so you can make it, the top part internally
The
illuminated?
top is, the top dimensional channel letters that shine out the back. They're not face lit, we call them halo lit or edge lit. It's subtle lighting that comes out of the back of the letter. So that's why we're not saying the top is internally illuminated.
Okay.
So
Well,
they're actually dimensional, physical, really nice,
But it's not a light on the ground or a light on the building shining on the sign, so I think that internally illuminated, regardless
They're
of how it
internally
is still...
illuminated individual letters is what they are.
Okay, so...
So they are internal
That I
illuminated.
think is the difference, and how it's internally illuminated isn't relevant to us.
Saying that's probably why it's not, we wouldn't usually word it that way on the drawing, just standard.
So can you make the number, the address stay on all night and the others shut off?
Well, the only way, how can we do that? That would mean 2 separate circuits going to the sign, basically.
Is that an issue?
I'm not the electrician running power to it, so.
Does that make a difference for
It
the
might not be
committee?
the only way, but I've never had that request in 32 years, so I can't.
Is there other signage on the building for the address, so when the police need to know where they're going, that it's lit?
I don't think there's a lit address, no.
No, so this would be notification for police and fire. Is that an issue that then, if it's a question of whether they can separate the two, if it's on?
Yeah, so if they can separate the two, that would be great. If not, I think it's important at least that the letters are illuminated of the building on the sign. So if the only way to do that is to keep the entire signs on illuminated, then so be it.
So do we want to word it somehow that if possible, keep the top on all night and shut the rest of it down when then that means whoever's the last business, or do we want it on a timer? Because green gold going out the door, they're not going to go to the street and flip a switch, probably.
No, it's all based on timers.
I would assume it's all on timers.
So it's on a timer?
Right. The
Yeah,
signs.
they're on timers wherever the, again, this is something we still have to work out with his, with the electrician.
Right, so what time do we want it to?
Where this sign's gonna be breaker to, where we're gonna tie it in, but it wouldn't be to a tenant's breaker. It would be probably to your, do you have a main breaker there for the building panel?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's where it would go, not one the tenants control, one you control, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so what
That's-
time do you
that's where it'd
want
have
to
happen.
turn?
Do we have enough circuits there to do that? I don't know. Is there some other way for me to figure it out? Maybe. I just haven't.
Well, we want to let you have the option, but I think the preference is to have the top stay all the time and the rest on a timer for what time?
So I think the latest business is 10 PM, so I would say around there, 10, 11 is fine with me.
I think we have to say it being the last business closing.
I'm sorry,
Um,
Counselor
it-
Doucette?
The sign needs to stay lit until the last business is closed. I don't want to put a time on it. I want it to be based upon operations.
Well, potentially someone else could come in there that stays open later.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Or if Green Gold, heaven forbid, Green Gold Group moves out and someone else moves in and the time changes.
I don't think anybody's going to be open later than 11, and that would be a package store. So we could probably just say midnight and be done with it?
That's fair.
Midnight,
Yeah,
sure.
that's fair.
All right, so the sign will go off at midnight. I'm going to add the sentence,
But what if we cannot figure out how to?
then the whole thing stays on, or the whole thing goes off at
Yeah, what's your
midnight?
preference? The whole thing goes off or the whole thing stays on?
Madam Chair?
Counselor Ossing?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, doing a quick review, there are no hour restrictions for, we can set whatever we want for the signs, whether it's the top part, the middle part. My personal opinion is just keep it all the same. Let's shut it off at midnight, turn it on whenever you want. I mean, the lighting helps, it's on Route 20, there's no houses there, it's a business, so, you know, I'm okay. I mean, I'm trying not to make life too difficult for the folks putting the sign up and for the folks trying to run a business. So
Right,
I
and-
would be good with midnight for the whole thing.
The whole thing? Counselor Vital?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This, if you're driving west on Route 20, this is basically the first sign people are going to see in the city. And I think it's going to be, the internally illuminated pylon sign is going to be really sharp. I mean, that's a nice-looking sign that they're going to see, similar to the one that was given an example about the dental office up on Bolton Street. I say right up until midnight would be fine.
So everybody's okay with that? So the language that I had proposed is to move to approve a master sign plan for 910 Boston Post Road East that supersedes the master sign plan approved on October 23rd, 2023. This master sign plan includes, number one, an internally illuminated pylon sign depicted by a copy of page labeled pylon sign 1 and 2 by Viewpoint Sign and Awning, 18 feet tall by 9 feet by 1 inch wide. Number two, 3 existing internally illuminated signs on the west side of the building with specific heights and lengths that I'm not going to read. And number 3, 4 signs along Route 20 side for future tenants, each sign 8 by 20, not internally illuminated. Adding in the language about the signs, the 3 illuminated signs will be turned off when the business is closed, and adding in that the pylon sign will be turned off at midnight. Okay, and then, I don't know about when it comes back on in the morning. Do we want it turned on a timer from midnight to?
6
Well,
a.m.
it changes from year to year, so they usually go on around dusk.
Okay,
So, I mean, during the summer, I'm not turning the sign on at 5 o'clock when it's sunshine.
so turn the sign off at
It
midnight
is LED, but it still costs money to run.
and turn on at dusk. All right, I know that was a lot, especially with the additions. Does anybody have questions on that language? Counselor Fucillo, sorry.
No problem. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question of clarification. When you were reading back some of the additions that we've made, so midnight will just be for the pylon sign. The 3 internally illuminated signs are going to be when business closes, the last business, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, that's what their current permit and approval reads as, so.
Right, so we're just going to keep that language, because currently the pylon sign isn't illuminated. So it would be the 3 internally illuminated signs are to be turned off when the specific business is closed. Okay? Somebody needs to move that language.
Move to approve a master sign plan for 910 Boston Post Road East that supersedes the master sign plan approved by October 23rd, 2023. This master sign plan includes 1, an internally illuminated pylon sign depicted a copy of page labeled pylon sign 1 and 2 by viewpoint sign and awning, 18 feet tall by 9 feet 1 inch wide, and 2, 3 existing internally illuminated signs on the west side of the building, 1 38 feet by 60 feet, 4 inches wide, okay, by 60 inch and 180 inch wide, and 3 4 signs along Route 20 for future tenant signs, illuminated till midnight, right?
Okay, and you added in about the illuminated signs being turned off when business is closed and
When
the
business is closed,
pylon-
right, yep.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? All those in favor of the master sign plan? 1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed? All right, we have. So I will get this written up. I am not sure if we can approve it when it's reported out. I don't remember how we did it. I think at the last time we did this, I actually asked for a suspension so we could approve the master sign plan. So if you're in a hurry, I could try the same thing.
I'm sorry,
I need to write up a report that would have the language, the specific language of the master sign plan.
Okay.
I would report that out at our November 17th council meeting, and then I could ask for a suspension to actually have the full council approve that master sign plan.
Oh, okay.
Because this is only a recommendation. It has to get approved by the council, the full
Okay,
council.
do we need to come back for that?
You can if you want, but if it's approved, you will get notified, so there isn't really a reason for you to come back.
Okay, so
Especially if
we're
you're
not
coming.
getting an approval tonight?
Not tonight, no. We're only a committee, we can only make a recommendation.
Okay, so then and you said that's when?
17th?
November, so next week?
Yes,
Okay.
we're getting there. That's why we have so much on our agenda tonight, because we have a lot we need to do on the
Okay,
17th.
so this is not an official approval tonight?
No,
Okay. You just make a recommendation and then they vote on it?
yes. It'll take 6 votes to approve the master sign plan, and then
6?
6. So, and then once that is done, you will hear from the city council office. They'll let you know, if you're not here, that we either did or didn't approve the master sign plan, and then you can
Okay.
take the next
But
steps
at that
forward.
meeting, we're silent, basically, just listen
Correct.
to see what the outcome is. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. I know it was a lot going on for a signs. Okay. Now, we can have the fun begin with Attorney Falk and all of his work that he's got going on. So we're going to take up order number 25-109-483, the application for a special permit for Attorney Falk on behalf of FD 130 Lazat LLC to convert an existing office building into a multifamily dwelling unit 72 and to erect 2 new buildings for multifamily dwelling use, 113 units, for a total development of 187 residential units, all for sale condominium units to be known as the Glenford at Lake Williams Condominium Community, to be located in the Lazat Drive Overlay District. So, Attorney Falk. Thank you.
All right, ready for me?
You want to have anything you want to say opening up?
Sure, I can summarize. So for the record, thank you, Councilor Roby, councilors. For the record, Brian Falk with Myrick, 100 Front Street in Worcester, here on behalf of the applicant FD 130 Lazat LLC, which is an affiliate of Ferris Development. Here with me on my left is Brian Charville from Ferris Development. On my right, Tim Hayes from Bowler Engineering. We also have a representative from MDM Transportation with us if there are any specific questions about the traffic impact assessment we submitted. Mentioned this is application for a special permit for a project we're calling Glenford at Lake Williams. This would convert the large empty, 10 years or more empty office building at the top of Lazat Drive to 74 residential condominium ownership units. We'd also be taking the existing and underutilized parking lots in that area and adding 2 new residential condominium buildings there as well. So the top of the cul-de-sac, it would be a 50-unit, 4-story building. And midway down Lazat Drive, we would have a 63-unit, 5-story building. Both the new buildings would have 50 parking spaces in a subsurface garage under the building, in addition to surface parking. Zoning requires 281 spaces for this 187 units that we have. We're providing 311 spaces, so a surplus of parking will be available. And this is the Lazat Drive Overlay District, which the council adopted in July of last year. It was a unanimous 11-0 vote to adopt the Overlay District to help allow for the revitalization of this former office area. So the new buildings, there would be a mix of 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, roughly half in each building, no 3 bedrooms. We had our public hearing on July 21st before the council. No one spoke in opposition to the use. In the interim, we've been working with the fire department to address some concerns they had about being able to get around the building at the top of the cul-de-sac, what we call Building 1. In discussions with the fire department, we moved that building about 10 feet into the property, which allows for a 16-foot wide fire lane around that building. So fire will have good access around that building. It has access around the current office building as well. And the new building further down Lazat Drive has almost 3 sides access to fire. So fire department has given their approval of the plans submitted on those grounds. We submitted a draft decision to the council. We received feedback from department heads. We then updated the decision to address a number of concerns that were raised or requests from department heads. The last version yielded no additional comments from our department heads. I mentioned we also submitted a transportation impact assessment by MDM Transportation, and we included a number of transportation conditions in the draft special permit based on some of those recommendations. In response to comments from the city engineer, we added a condition to the special permit where we will be repaving Lazat Drive from Jackson all the way to the top of the cul-de-sac once we're done with construction. We also added a condition where we would make a payment of $25,000 towards the Lake Williams trail system for maintenance and enhancement of that trail system. Finally, we in response to comment from Priscilla Ryder, conservation agent, we did a balloon test on Friday and Saturday to demonstrate the proposed height of the 2 new buildings, Building 1 at the top of the cul-de-sac and Building 2. We raised the balloons to a little bit more than what the height of those buildings would be. So Building 1 is going to be a little over 46 feet. We did a balloon to 50 feet. Building 2 would be about 59 feet. We did the balloon to 60 feet. I went out, I don't know many others who may have gone out and taken a look. I went out when the balloons were at their height, and Building 1, the balloon at the top of the cul-de-sac was below the tree line, and it was a nice clear day on Friday, and I went on the farthest edge of Lake Williams to take a look, and I could not see that white balloon anywhere above the tree line. So that balloon was set at the closest point of that building at 50 feet, which is just above what the top of that building would be, and it's not visible across the Lake Williams tree line, which I know is important to a lot of folks. Finally, the special permit references some dimensional waivers that we're looking for. The overlay district allows for some modification of the dimensional requirements, and those are detailed on the site plan that Bowler prepared, and it's referenced in the draft decision. With that, happy to take your questions and review the draft decision, and appreciate your time.
All right, I will go through the draft decision in just a minute. I know I did the floating walkway starting at the courthouse corner, walked across both at the corner and anywhere along the path. I could not see the balloon. I walked up the hill that goes up to Lazat Drive, couldn't see the balloon until I actually got onto Lazat Drive and walked up and stood in the parking lot where I saw the balloon for the building that, as referenced, is closest to the trees. What I was able to see was 495 off to the side of the building. So I know that that will be, as many people that live all throughout Marlborough talk about hearing the traffic from 495. I'm sure these residents will too. But the trees themselves, or the building itself, I do not believe will be able to be seen from the courthouse, which was the request of the Conservation Department. I did also walk down to see, when I looked at the balloon on the lower, it was tangled in a tree, so I untangled it, got it to fly as straight up as it would go, but it's also on a downhill, so I don't think it's an issue either. So I don't know if anybody else had a chance to go look. I did not see anything from comments. I put it on Facebook just to let people know. I don't think, and I think Priscilla said she went and looked too, so I didn't hear anything from her. So we have the revised, as Attorney Fox said. I know we had received a document that included comments with a lot of detailed comments from both Conservation and then from DPW, which then were actually incorporated. So I'm not going to read through the comments at this point, but I will point them out as we go through. The police chief, the fire chief, and Board of Health all had no comments. So I think the points that were raised by Conservation and DPW have been taken into consideration with the amended language. So we will begin reading the decision on a special permit, order number 25-109-483. The City Council of the City of Marlborough grants the application for a special permit to FD 130 Lazat LLC, the applicant, to build and operate a 3-building multifamily project as one or more condominiums with 187 residential units off of Lazat Drive as provided in this decision and subject to the following findings of facts and conditions. Finding of facts number 1. The applicant, FD 130 Lazat LLC, is a Massachusetts limited liability company with an address of 118 Turnpike Road South, Suite 300, Southborough, Mass. 017752. Number 2, the applicant's the owner of the property located along Lazat Drive in Marlborough, being shown as parcels 2A and 83 on Assessor's Map 90, the site. Number 3, in accordance with Article 6, Section 65039I of the zoning ordinance of the City of Marlborough, the applicant proposes to build and operate at the site a 3-building multifamily project consisting of a converted office building with a total of 74 residential units, 2 new buildings with a total of 113 residential units, on-site parking, open space areas, and residential amenities. The use in quote in each building or one or more of the buildings together may be organized as its own condominium and constructed in phases at different times. Number 4, the site is located in the Limited Industrial District and the Lazat Drive Overlay District. Number 5, the site has an area of 441,331 square feet, give or take, as shown on the plans referenced in paragraph 7 below. Number 6, the applicant by and through its counsel filed with the city clerk of the City of Marlborough an application for a special permit for the use. Number 7, in connection with the application, the applicant submitted a certified list of abutters, filing fees, and a detailed site plan entitled Site Development Plans for Glenford at Lake Williams by Bowler Engineering, with the last revision date of October 10th, 2025, a set of architectural plans entitled 130 Lazat Drive Multifamily Development by Monty French Design, studio with the last revision date of July 22nd, 2025, and a set of architectural plans entitled Architectural Plans for 130 Lazat Drive by DMS Design, LLC, with the last revision date of April 25th, collectively the plans hereto attached as Attachment A.
Madam
And
Chair.
Councilor Ossing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The October 10th, 2025 plans are actually dated October 2nd. I confirmed that with Priscilla earlier this afternoon. So if you could change the 10 to a 2, that would be,
Are these the documents that were just delivered to us tonight?
that is correct.
All right, so we'll change the 10 to 2? Because I know I had said I don't have October 10, 2025, and I didn't have the architectural, so
The other two
that's a
work.
quick fix. All right. Number 8, the application was certified as complete by the building commissioner of the City of Marlborough, acting on behalf of the city planner for the City of Marlborough, in accordance with the rules and regulations promulgated by the City Council for the issuance of a special permit. Number 9, pursuant to the rules and regulations of the City Council for the City of Marlborough and applicable statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the City Council established a date for a public hearing on the application, and the city clerk for the City of Marlborough caused notice of the same to be advertised and determined that notice of the same was provided to abutters entitled thereto in accordance with applicable regulations and law. Number 10, the Marlborough City Council, pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, opened the public hearing on Monday, July 21st, 2025. The hearing was closed on that date. Number 11, the applicant, through its representatives, presented testimony at the public hearing detailing the use, describing its impact upon municipal services, the neighborhood, and traffic. Number 12, at the public hearing, no members of the public spoke in opposition to the use. Number 13, the applicant, through its representatives, conducted a height test on November 7th, 2025, and November 8th to demonstrate the height of the proposed new buildings, with notices of the balloon test being mailed to property owners listed on the certified list of abutters and being posted on the city website. Based on the above, the City Council makes the following findings and takes the following actions. A, the applicant has complied with all rules and regulations promulgated by the Marlborough City Council as they pertain to special permit applications. B, the City Council finds that the proposed use of the site is an appropriate use and in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance of the City of Marlborough, when subject to the appropriate terms and conditions as provided herein. The City Council makes these findings subject to the completion and adherence by the applicant, its successors, and/or assigns to the conditions more fully shown forth herein. C, in accordance with Section 65039(1)(c)(3), the City Council finds that modifications to the dimensional parking design and landscaping requirements applicable to the use as shown and described on the plans results in an improved design that does not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent or purposes of Section 65039I of the zoning ordinance, because the design accommodates garage parking below the new buildings, optimizes the location of the buildings on the lots, and maximizes green space. In addition, by allowing 4 separate lots within the overall project, the proposed dimensional changes better accommodate condominium ownership communities among the 3 buildings. Given the existing vegetated buffers around the project and the site's distance from homes and businesses, the proposed setbacks and heights will have minimal impact on neighbors. D, the City Council, pursuant to its authority under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, and the zoning ordinance, hereby grants the applicant a special permit to build and operate a 3-building multifamily project as 1 or more condominiums with the 187 residential units as shown on the plan, subject to the following conditions, which conditions shall be binding on the applicant, its successors, and/or assigns. Number 1, construction in accordance with the applicable laws. Construction of all structures on the site is to be in accordance with all applicable building codes and zoning regulations in effect in the city of Marlborough and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and shall be built according to the plans as may be amended during site plan review. Number 2, site plan review. The issuance of the special permit is further subject to detailed site plan review by the city council in accordance with section 65039I of the zoning ordinance prior to the issuance of a building permit. Subsequent site plan review shall be consistent with the conditions of this special permit and the plans submitted, reviewed, and approved by the city council as a special permit granting authority. Any additional changes, alterations, modifications, or amendments as required during the process of site plan review shall be further conditions of this special permit and conditions attached to the building permit, and a final occupancy permit for the entire project shall not be issued until the applicant has complied with all conditions, provided, however, that subsequent to the issuance of this special permit and site plan approval, the Site Plan Review Committee may authorize the phasing of site and building work depending upon weather conditions and other factors, and final occupancy permits may be issued for the first 2 buildings completed at the site in earlier phases if site work related to those buildings has been completed. In accordance with section 65039(1)(I) of the zoning ordinance, the building commissioner may approve minor modifications to the special permit and the plans. I will just throw in here a question, because I know it's a concern at another site where they're past their special permit and they're past their site plan approval and the project is not done. So do we put in here years that you have to do this work and something if it's not done by that time?
So we have a lapse period of 3 years where we have to act on the special permit within 3 years or it's no longer effective. You're looking at a maximum construction period where it has to be completed within a certain period of time.
Right.
Okay.
Is that not what a site plan does? Don't you have to finish the site by the 3 years?
That's typically site plan decisions do have a completion date in them, and then they can be extended if you come back.
Okay, so what happens if you never come back?
An incomplete project is probably going to be full of code violations, so there would be an enforcement mechanism in that regard.
And you wouldn't get a final occupancy?
Not for the entire site, no. If you did it in phases and only did one phase and the other was either not done or incomplete, I mean, you wouldn't get final occupancy. But I would imagine, I mean, if you're leaving a building half done, you're opening yourself up to a ton of potential code violations, which would be enforceable by the city. Just doing it in phases and having the phases come along as construction schedules and the market dictates, I mean, that's not typically something that is, regulated, at least not in decisions I've worked on.
Okay, all right.
If I may, I just want to make one
throw it out
correction,
there.
if
I'm
I
sorry.
could. In the site plan review paragraph, it mentions in the first sentence, site plan review by the city council. That's an error. It's probably from another decision I'm working on. It should be by the site plan review committee in the Lozat district. It's not the city council.
You're very correct. Site plan review by the do we even need to have anything? A site plan review, or 65039 is site plan review, is it not? Or
65039 is the Lozat overlay district, is point one,
building
Lozat
plan.
overlay district. This would just be site plan review. It's referenced in that district, and then it refers back to the general code ordinance for site plan review.
Okay, so we can put in there by the site plan review committee versus city council. All right, thank you for that catch. I'm sure the solicitor would have got it, but, all right. Number 3, incorporation of submissions. All plans, photo renderings, site evaluations, briefs, and other documentation provided by the applicant as part of the application and as amended or revised during the application hearing process before the city council and/or the City Council's Urban Affairs Committee are herein incorporated into and become a part of this special permit and become conditions and requirements of the same, unless otherwise altered by the City Council. The final architectural design of the site shall be reasonably consistent with the plan submitted by the applicant. The final exterior features of the site, including landscaping, shall be maintained in good condition and shall be reasonably consistent with the plan submitted and representations made to the City Council. Number 4, storm, water, and erosion control management. The applicant shall ensure that its site superintendent during construction of the project is competent in stormwater and erosion control management. This individual's credentials shall be acceptable to the Engineering Division of the city's Department of Public Works and the city's Conservation Commission. This individual shall be responsible for checking the site before, during, and after storm events, including weekends and evenings when storms are predicted. This individual shall ensure that no untreated stormwater leaves the site, consistent with the state's and the city's stormwater regulations. This individual shall ensure compliance with the approved sequence of construction plan and the approved erosion control plan. The applicant shall grant this individual complete authority of the site as it relates to stormwater and erosion controls. Number 5, phasing of construction. Each of the 3 proposed buildings or one or more of the buildings together may be organized as its own condominium and constructed in phases at different times. Site plan review in accordance with conditions number 1 may be addressed in phases with separate reviews for different buildings. Number 6, affordable units.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Councilor Fucillo?
Madam Chair, thank you, Madam Chair. I think Priscilla had noted that it's condition 2 there for phasing of construction, when it refers to site plan review in accordance with condition 2, not condition 1.
And did oh, I wonder if that's an error on her part. Which condition?
Yeah, it's that
Site
final.
plan review is condition 2. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So that should say condition 2. Well, number 1 is construction in accordance with applicable laws. Number 2 is site plan review. I'm sorry, I did not understand.
I'm sorry, condition 2 describes site plan review.
Yep, all right, we'll change that to number 2. Anything else on that one? We're good, she's got all the other language. Number 6, affordable units. 12% of the dwelling units at the site shall be made available to homeowners at affordable prices whose annual income does not exceed 80% of the area median income in perpetuity or the longest period allowed by law. The affordable housing units in accordance with the provisions of Section 650-26 of the zoning ordinance and this condition. The affordable housing unit shall be distributed evenly among the 3 buildings pro rata or rata. The affordable housing unit shall comply with all requirements for inclusion in the subsidized housing inventory of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities prior to obtaining a certificate of occupancy for any unit within a given building. The applicant, in coordination with the city and its Community Development Authority, shall file all required submissions to EOHLC for inclusion of the affordable housing units within that specific building on the SHI, and shall diligently take all actions necessary to include the affordable housing units on the SHI, including without limitation preparing and executing a regulatory agreement and declaration of restrictive covenants and any other restrictive instrument necessary to ensure compliance with said zoning ordinance and this condition, a marketing plan, and all other required documentation. All costs associated with complying with this condition, including but not limited to the EOHLC process, recording of all documents with the Registry of Deeds, and the marketing plan for the affordable unit shall be borne by the applicant. Number 7, transportation alternatives. A, information regarding public transportation services, map, schedules, and fare information shall be posted in a central location and/or otherwise made available to residents within each building at the site. B, a welcome packet shall be provided to residents detailing available public transportation services, bicycle and walking alternatives, commuter options, and local walking trails. C, work-at-home workspaces are encouraged to be provided to support telecommuting by residents of the site. D, a central mail drop shall be provided within each building for residents. E, secure bicycle parking shall be provided for residents and visitors, including weather-protected bicycle parking within the 2 parking garages on site. 8, green design. The applicant shall utilize best practices to design energy-efficient buildings and is encouraged to design buildings and accessory structures to accommodate accessory solar energy facilities and other technologies as feasible. The applicant shall use best efforts to provide all-electric utilities, contingent upon the utility company being able to commit to such service during the project's ordinary construction timeline. Accommodations for future electronic vehicle charging stations or EV dedicated outlets shall be installed in at least 10% of the parking spaces for each building, with at least 10 parking spaces having EV charging stations or EV dedicated outlets installed for each building prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy for a residential unit. Number 9, Lazat Drive-In. I'm sorry.
Yeah, in item 8, there's a reference to future electronic vehicles. They are electric vehicles, not electronic.
Indeed.
Did I read it wrong, or future electric
It's a typo.
vehicles?
Electric vehicles, not electronic.
Good catch. Okay. Number 9, Lazat Drive improvements. The applicant, at the applicant's sole expense, shall complete the reclamation and repaving of Lazat Drive from the intersection with Jackson Drive to the end of the Lazat Drive cul-de-sac under the supervision of the city's Department of Public Works, with said work starting after significant construction activities at the site involving large trucks and equipment have concluded, and with said work being completed before the issuance of a final occupancy permit for the entire project, provided, however, that the Site Plan Review Committee may authorize the issuance of a final occupancy permit for the entire project prior to the completion of said work due to weather conditions and other factors, if said work is secured by a bond or other form of security held by the city in an amount deemed adequate by the city engineer to enable the city to complete said work. Number 10, Jackson Drive. As part of formal site plan review, the applicant shall evaluate options for the private way known as Jackson Drive in the vicinity of the site, including working with neighboring property abutters to improve or modify access to the way. And what was removed is that petitioning for it to be a public way, as Mr. DePercio did not want that. Number 11, Lake Williams Trail funding. Prior to the issuance of the first building permit for the use, the applicant shall provide a payment to the city in the amount of $25,000 to be used by the city or its designee, we'll get rid of the word "to," for maintenance and improvements in the Lake Williams Trail system.
Madam Chair.
Councilor Nabin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I appreciate the developer being willing to put this in. Obviously, this area has seen a tremendous amount of increased activity. As the city engineer has noted, this project will continue to incentivize people to use this area, and certainly a marketing, a marketing advantage for the developer after it's done. Wondering if the developer, two points. One, are there going to be parking spaces available? I know that you said there's kind of an abundance of parking here. Will there be any parking dedicated for people to use the trail for recreation?
We don't have that shown on the plans right now. The parking would be for the residents of the community.
Okay. And then just kind of building upon that, obviously with the increase in cost, we rely a tremendous amount on our Trails Committee to volunteer efforts to put together and maintain the consistency of our trails that are well regarded. Would the developer be willing to increase this donation to the city? to perhaps 45,000 or 50,000.
We can certainly consider it. Don't have authority to say yes right now, but we can certainly take it into advisement.
Thank you.
Would you be able, I'm sorry, Counselor Ossing? What am I reading from?
Well, these latest conditions aren't the ones that are on the ones that was.
You should have gotten an updated document that had these changes. They're all, did nobody, that's the one that came late in the day with the comment. I can't keep track of, because there were multiple changes on multiple things, but late today, yes. Yes, they were emailed with, I think, the suggestion that you bring your devices so you could read them.
No, I got my device, I don't see the email. That's why I'm struggling.
I believe it was sent at 12:46 p.m. Nope, that would have been, that was just, so 2:25 from Brian to all the counselors. It says forward comments from November 6th. Nope, that's Taj Mahal, okay.
If I could ask the council secretary if she has it, can she go back into her office and resend it to all of us? Because we don't have it.
Do you remember when you sent it, Brian? Because I know it was when I had said I didn't have the,
I first submitted it sometime last week, when I created the version that accepted the suggested edits from the city engineer and then updated it. And then the packet, I think, for the meeting didn't include that version, so I
Right.
sent it today just so it was fresh on top of the inbox.
I know, I received it because I printed it out.
Probably.
November 6th at 8:10 a.m. Did you send it? Oops. Looks like it was at 8:10 a.m. Manager's comments, Glenford at Lake Williams, sent to all of the city council with the special, it says attached is a revised special permit. Decision, clean and red line, the suggested edits address the comments raised by Tom DePercio and Priscilla Ryder. So you have a red line and a clean from November 6th at 8:10 a.m. Although actually this, nope, unless Karen, I thought Karen forwarded this then to everybody. But we can, if she's making copies, we might as well just wait until everybody.
Again, Madam Chair, you can continue to go. As long as she sends electronically, I don't need a paper copy. I just
All
wanted.
right, because I've got them and I printed them out, so either I printed them because of this and didn't realize nobody else had them. What you brought tonight is only the maps, but not the actual language, is that right?
I'm sorry,
Just the map and the picture?
Provided to you tonight was for the Main Street
Main Street,
project, not for
okay.
this one. I wasn't aware that this hadn't been distributed, otherwise I would have brought copies.
All right, so everybody's okay with me just to continue reading? We're almost done at this point. Number 12 is landscaping, a detailed landscaping plan for the site. Oh, I'm sorry, back to the question of, are we on a timeline with this one where it has to be approved on the 17th? no, we extended this one,
This
so
is
there's plenty
extended
of
to
time.
December 17th as well.
But if I'm going to report it out, I need a number. So would you be able to confirm how high you're going? So I can,
We can work to do that while we're finishing up the decision.
okay. Number 12, landscaping. A detailed landscaping plan for the site shall be reviewed and further conditioned during the site plan review process. The landscaping plan shall be more robust than is required by the zoning ordinance and shall provide shade canopy and use native plants to improve habitat. The applicant shall maintain the landscaping at the site for the duration of the use. Number 13, lighting. Exterior lighting at the site shall be downward facing and shielded to minimize impacts of neighboring properties, with a lighting plan for the site to be reviewed and further conditioned during the site plan review process. 14, Conservation Commission approval. The applicant shall obtain and comply with an order of conditions from the city's Conservation Commission. Number 15, compliance with applicable laws. The applicant agrees to comply with all municipal, state, and federal rules, regulations, and ordinances as they may apply to the construction, maintenance, and operation of the use. And number 16 is the recording of the decision. And I will go back to the Lake Williams Trail funding, because I know Lazard is a very long road, and people do park at the closer to Williams Street end of it to use the rail trail because the path is right there. I think if people are parking closer to where your property's going, their plan would be to go down the hill, which not a lot of people are even aware that that trail exists, and it's definitely not for the handicapped people or people with issues. My guess is that some of this money will go to improving that portion of the trail, but it's steep, it's rocky, but anything that can help. But Lazat Drive is an option for people to park on. It just gets them where that trail is what they would be using, and a lot of people don't like to use that trail, that part of the trail. Councilor Navin?
Yeah, and only to add to that, I mean, I see quite a bit of use there already. That's why I was asking, just to see if that would be something. I thought actually the developer may actually appreciate more people not being on the road if there was kind of a area in the back that wasn't being used by owners for that part of the, for that use, especially if we will be improving it to be more handicap accessible or just more accessible in general. People may want to drive closer
Yeah, I
to
don't
it.
think there's any way to improve
much.
that hill
Yep.
for handicap accessibility, let alone people who stumble like me. All right, so you're going to let us know on the number, or
I've asked. We'll hopefully get an answer shortly.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments from anybody? Councilor Fucillo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick comment, but before I get to that, I'm very excited about this project. When we rezoned this portion of the city, was really excited to get, a revitalized vacant office space, right? This is what we're talking about, turning a property to increase the property value there and the revenues for the city, turning something that's vacant into something that's going to have a strong use, that's going to benefit our community. From my perspective, there's a limited impact on the neighbors. And not only that, the surplus of parking, very rarely do we hear that, I feel like before this body. So this is all good signs. I know you had said with condition 11, you'd be willing to take a look at the funding for the Lake Williams Trail, just the amount. In that kind of same breath, going over to item number 9 with the Lazat Drive improvements. I know that right now the plan is to start from Jackson Drive and to go up to the cul-de-sac. I don't want to force anybody's hand, but I would encourage that maybe going all the way out to William Street. I know there's only, a few tenants there with the St. Mary's building and then the parking lot to the William Street ball fields. I think that could be a really nice touch to just pave all the way down to Williams to get that access to the ball field parking lot, which I know has been there for a long time. And the city's put a lot of additions and improvements into those ball fields. So I think that could be a nice, just kind of addition, just food for thought. But really strong project, and I'm really excited to move forward with this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, and I guess I kind of agree with you, but this was a recommendation from the engineering department that it be from Jackson Drive only. I know with the work being done, the majority of the traffic at the beginning of that, obviously there'll be new addition with the people living there, but it's people going to the ballpark. So to me, that portion should really still remain under the control of the city, and if it needs paving, then the city would do it. But you're going to pave the rest of the way. I think the concern is because Lazat Drive is not in the greatest shape now, by the time you bring all the construction equipment in, you're going to make it worse. So you're going to repair it by paving it.
Correct.
At your expense.
I can't answer this for a fact, but the bottom portion seems to be in better shape right now, from Jackson Drive up. Understandably, it is a public way all the way to the cul-de-sac, but presumably the city hasn't spent a whole lot of effort there because it's been vacant for so long.
Right, and if number 10 is Jackson Drive and you actually improve or modify the access to it, that probably means paving that road, which is also not in the greatest shape. And it is basically a private way, and it is access to the daycare center drop-off is really the only thing it's used for now. So be an arrangement with them for paving it. Councillor Navin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to echo a couple of things that Councillor Fucillo just mentioned. Yeah, I do think this is a strong project. We talk a lot about what the city can get from certain projects, what the benefit is. I like to talk a lot about how it needs to benefit both of us. And, this was an opportunity for the developer to really capitalize on a building that existed while still having a significant piece of land that they could also put some, according to these pictures, some very attractive housing on there. It's not sitting on top of anything else. It's got a lot of nice natural surroundings. For the city, it really does allow us, as we talked about here, it allows us to put together a test case for what we can do with some of these vacant commercial buildings and really help us to repurpose in a way that's creative. I think the traffic, I think the positioning of it, Council President often says, right place, right project, right time. I think you guys have hit the nail on the head as far as this is concerned. I say all of this while waiting to hear back about the money that can be spent to improve our trail system, but I am going to be excited to support this project. I think it's one that's been well thought out. It's going to have a benefit for the city as well as for the developer. So I know we'll continue to discuss, but if you need a motion, I'm happy to motion to approve the special permit for further discussion.
As
Amended.
potentially amended?
Yes, it's hopefully amended.
What I read, but if we're going to increase the amount of the money, I know Councilor Fucillo did bring up wanting to go for Lazat Drive all the way. Are you supporting that, or are you leaving it as is in your motion?
I mean, I would be happy to support it because I also feel like it would be nice to see it improved, but did you, Brian?
Councilor Ossing?
So, Madam Chair, the fully paving it, I would leave that to the DPW to tell us whether it needs it or not. I don't think we're in a position to say, do we say you're going to pave it or not? I mean, I'd leave that to the DPW to say if that's needed. I do want to mention two other things that I think are very important. The ball fields there, we had talked about during the overlay, needs some attention, and this would be a perfect opportunity, so I'd ask you to take back to your client to see about donating or some donation for the ball fields. I know I've got work in my dealings with the youth baseball. They've got us to fix up those fields and all their amenities, about $125,000 that they'd love to see if they could do that. And the second piece is all the projects that have come in on the west side of the city have donated something to the fire station. I mean, because the fire station is key. I'll let you do your own research as to what other developers have done. You can make your own assessment, but I think that would look more favorable because this is a great project. You're going to advertise it significantly by using whether it's parking or at the ballpark. You'd have some great opportunities there, so I think that would be advantageous to the developer to support those type items. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So just remind me, Attorney, we have time because those would be amendments to this, so we don't really want to approve anything tonight that then you're adding language that wouldn't be known by the body, unless it's something you want to amend when it comes to the floor? Is there a preference?
I will say we can, understand we can go up to 50 on the trails, or do a combination of the 25 for the trails and 25 for the ball field, of authority for that. I can't speak to other things. It depends on what the committee wants to recommend, but, I wouldn't be able to address those other things tonight without, going back to the client.
Okay.
But,
So
yeah.
so it says Lake Williams Trail funding. It doesn't say ball field, so we would have to change. Is everybody okay with adding in a ball field funding at 25,000? Counselor Preciado.
Thank you, I've been waiting a while. I would just want to thank Councilor Ossing for bringing up those 2 points. That was actually my plan to bring them up as well. This is a great project, I think. I will always support housing, especially more affordable housing. I know you guys are limited to that right now, but it's a good area, right? There's no one using that building. You guys don't have a lot of neighbors, which is great. So it's not going to be really affecting many neighborhoods. But in lieu of that, as Councilor Ossing did say, we do have the ball fields that do need some repair work. I have heard numbers around 125,000 for some significant improvements to that area. They are essentially your only neighbors, and they are frequented very much by families and by youth, including the people that will be going to the trail systems and the Lake Williams Boardwalk as well. So I would also encourage a donation around Councilor Ossing's amount of 125,000 for improvements of the ball field, as well as the trails.
All right, and we are meeting on Thursday with Urban, and I believe you are also on the agenda for things on Thursday. This could be held over, so we could finalize it. You could talk to the people you need to talk to determine if how high they're willing to do on the fire station. It sounds like we might have an answer for adding into the ball fields. I don't know that we've ever had anybody do ball fields, but this is close to it. To me, the baseball is a private organization. If we're doing this one, there's also the girls' softball fields, and there's also 2 ball fields. So,
3.
Which one in particular, or is it just money, get 3, given to the Marlboro Youth Baseball Association to use as they see fit?
Madam Chair, any funding we request would go to a stabilization account that the rec department would allocate out. We're not giving any money to any private organization. That's not our function. We collect money to go do things in the city. That's not our job to give the private organizations the funds.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Councilor Nabin.
Just to the point to further the conversation, I will withdraw my motion and submit a motion to postpone so that we can consider this on Thursday if that's what's needed, so it's
Hold
not
off, because
open.
Councilor Vitale's had his hand up, and I have...
It's a logistical one, I believe. Thank you, Madam Chair. We kind of wrote off Jackson Road here or Jackson Drive as a private thing, and shall evaluate options. But I see the residents using that road, private or public or otherwise, to go down to the Hilton, to go to Four Kicks, to go on to 495 South. If I'm driving 495 North and I live there, I'm going to get off of Cimarano Drive and come in that way rather than go all the way up and around. So this Jackson Drive I think is an important throughway for the residents there.
But Jackson Drive only exists if you know it's there, there's no signage, and if you keep going a couple hundred yards further east on Williams, you wind up coming to Lazat Drive, and you
What I'm
just go
saying is all the
straight
residents will know
up.
it's there.
I don't know that they will see it as they're coming up and down the
That's right.
road, but they're not, if they turn on it, the first time they turn on it and drive down the rocky road, they're going to go, why am I doing that when I could just go straight down, make a right-hand turn, and be where I need to be? So,
If I may, Madam Chair, the change that you had mentioned was there was language previously that mentioned that we would work with the abutting owners to petition to make Jackson Drive a public way. City engineer, speaking for the DPW, that that not be part of the decision for a variety of reasons. But we still have the language that we'll work with through site plan review, work with neighboring property owners to improve or modify access to the way. So it's not just we're leaving Jackson Drive off the list. It's just, it's to be determined, but it wouldn't become a public way.
Correct.
But we'll evaluate efforts to, improve or modify access to it.
Yep. All right, so are you comfortable with us tabling this, adding it? And we'll just take it back up again on Thursday for you
If
to
I
be
could-
able to?
Well, I think what would be helpful, going back to the client, is are we otherwise done? Is the draft decision with the conditions of approval otherwise done, but for the question of a donation to we've offered $25,000 for the trail system. I mentioned we could go up to 50, either for that or for, splitting it with ball field improvements. And then it was mentioned some form of contribution towards West Side Fire Station or some other mitigation. It would be helpful to understand, are we otherwise done? Is it those two items that we're coming back with either language or amounts, or is there still more to discuss?
The only other thing I see is a comment from Priscilla regarding specific language of no building or structures are permitted to rise above the tree line at 130 Lazat Drive that would impede the view. I didn't see anything specific to that. You talk about the balloon test, but did I miss it being?
You didn't. I think the thought was, let's see what the balloon test shows us. I think what it showed us is it doesn't go above the tree line. The building, the highest elevation building will not be visible with the current tree line.
And it doesn't really say that, though. It just says that you conducted a height test to demonstrate the height of the proposed new buildings, but it doesn't say that that test showed that it is not going to impact the tree line.
We could certainly add language to that finding to that effect.
Okay, so if you can add that one.
Sure.
And the other, I guess if you can figure out how to specify in the language, the trail funding says to the city, to be used by the city or its designee for maintenance. If you can specify it's going to conservation, and then they would determine where it goes. And for the ball field stabilization,
It would,
open
this,
space?
I've used this language in other decisions where, we're providing it for this purpose to the city. We're kind of leaving it to the city. I don't really know where the check would be delivered to, but if the council accepts it and it goes to conservation for that purpose, that's fine.
Right, except that we got in trouble with this when we tried to have a transfer done for the fire station, which is why we specifically set up the fire station stabilization account. We have open space account, we have ball field.
So, Madam Chair, again, what I'm hearing and what the applicant needs to do, you're not going to get, well, first, you're not meeting on Thursday. There's no Urban Affairs meeting Thursday, just so that everybody's clear. All
On the
right?
13th?
That is correct. All right? There's personnel, there's public service, and L&L.
Sorry, yes,
Urban
okay,
Affairs.
thank you.
If everybody's good with that, all right?
Streaming, I know it was
All
coming
right,
on
that's
Thursday.
okay. No, I just want, because Counselor
Right.
Facillo and I are saying that there's no urban affairs.
Yeah,
That's
right.
one. Two, any mitigation funds that we're gonna ask any developer to put in needs to have an account number that we need to get ahead of time that says they will write a check to the city to go into account X that's gonna be used, whatever the infinite wisdom of the city council is. We have 3 meetings left. Based on what I'm hearing, I don't think we're in a good position to have this all buttoned up right now. They've got some action items to come back. We can set up another urban affairs meeting at your convenience so that we could report it and have it ready for the meeting on the 1st. Solicitor polishes it up, and we vote on it on the 15th, which meets the 12/17 deadline. All right?
Okay.
And if that's not right, Attorney Falk, let me know, but I'm just trying to, I don't see enough specificity in what we're trying to approve right now that I can give the solicitor anything meaningful to deal with.
Right, and that's what based on past experience with the council, we do need the accounts. So we need to know if you're willing to, the fire one we've got already. The other two, I guess we would need to make sure we're set up based on information we could get from the auditor.
And I'm happy to work offline to get the specific accounts for those purposes, but as I said, it'll be helpful if, when we're talking to the client, if we have a sense of we're otherwise done. It's those items that are outstanding in terms of, is there gonna be a mitigation payment towards West Side Fire Station, and what are the amounts with respect to trails and ball fields? But other than that, where the draft decision is in.
I think so, other than adding, if you want to try to figure out where to add in some specificity on the balloon test, or the fact that the buildings can't block that tree line.
Yeah, what I would say is I think I would add that to demonstrate what the height test or the balloon test demonstrated.
Okay.
I will say I'm a little concerned. I can't control the tree line or what might happen in the future. The buildings will be there for 50-plus years. The storm could happen, the trees could be impacted, and it's off of our property. So I wouldn't want to have a zoning violation because there was a storm.
Right. Hopefully, all of those
But I
trees
think
would
if we
not
include it
disappear,
in the findings, I think it demonstrates what we did, which was we designed it so that it was not a problem with respect to the current tree line, which is all we can do.
Okay, so we'll let you work on that. We can then deal with, I know we had a whole conversation of dates. I'll need to go back and look at when you could do, when I could do. Counselor Oram.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will agree with most of the councilors talking about this project as a good project. It's a win-win. You guys get the amenities of good traffic pattern. You're not in a congested area. You got the ball fields right there. Family moving in might say, we walk to the Little League fields. You also have the trails and our floatable boardwalk. So great project for you as well as for us. But I am concerned, as I mentioned in the public hearing, our services are going to increase, the demand for our services, including the fire. And I agree with President Ossing that we need to look at a contingency fee or some kind of funding coming over, as other projects have done, to help us support the West Fire Station. So that, I agree with that 100%. I actually circled the $25,000 for the item on the trails. It's actually in this one here, and I think that's a little low, personally. I think $50,000 would be the minimum I would look at, and obviously the ball fields, and we need to get back to that. But I had a question on number 7. You mentioned many areas of doing work to help out with public transportation. I hope to see more and more public transportation alternatives in Marlboro. What I'd like to see is areas reserved for buses to have stops. So that way we promote people using other forms of transportation. I think you'll be forced someday to look at more than 10% for electric vehicles. The demand's increasing, and it will change as time goes on. Being an owner of an electric vehicle, I'm always looking for charging stations. I'm not going to touch that. I'll let you go with your 10% as projected. You may have to add more down the road, but those would be my comments, and I would like to see Jackson Drive some resolution to that as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. So any other comments before, then we will table this, add it to an agenda that we need to plan for in the future, because we do have a couple of other things anyway. So we'll be having urban affairs. Does that work? And then you can bring us back with some numbers after you talk to the client.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll update the decision based on the discussions tonight, and we'll come back with resolution of the other items that you requested.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let me take a minute to bring up the next set of documents we're going to go over. I don't think we don't need to vote on it, do we? We're just,
As a committee, you should all agree that that's your agree not to take any action at this point in time. You can postpone it to the next, at the chair's convenience, the next meeting.
okay, does somebody want to move?
Yeah. Sean already
Okay,
did.
move to postpone to a date certain, because we don't know the date. All right. All right. All those in favor of postponing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so that takes care of that. Anybody need to take a quick little break? Otherwise, we're going to deal with the items added to the agenda, the site plan approval for Taj Estates and the stairs next. Minute recess till we get all our members back in. Ready to get back to order here. We have 2 items on our agenda for this next portion. Order number 25-109-554, an application for amendment to site plan approval from Attorney Brian Falk on behalf of Taj Estates for the mixed-use project at 163-175 Main Street, and then related to it, order number 25-109-578, a communication from Attorney Brian Falk on behalf of Taj Estates of Marlborough LLC regarding the request to purchase city stair land adjacent to proposed mixed-use project at 163-175 Main Street. So we took up the special permit. Now we are site plan review on this project. So we have a new document that was provided that is some updates from all the other postings. I don't know if you want to make any comments, Attorney Falk, before we begin?
Sure, thank you, Councilor Roby. Again, for the record, Brian Falk from Myrick here on behalf of the applicant Taj Estates of Marlborough LLC. So what you have that I distributed tonight, the draft site plan that's got the yellow coloring on the front of it, is a red line. So this council received on November 5th comments and red line edits to a draft site plan decision from the city engineer, which incorporated comments from city departments. We've been working with them for a few months now on what the site plan would look like and the amendments to the site plan decision. And so city engineer, on behalf of site plan committee and department heads, has sent you his comments, suggested edits to this decision. What you have before you here is I accepted all of those changes, and then the redlining you see are additional edits beyond the things that the city engineer had recommended. I submitted this to the city engineer and conservation agent and building commissioner on Saturday, and I got the go-ahead from them today that they're comfortable with this version of the site plan decision. So the red line edits, again, you see, accepted everything that the city engineer had asked for, and then the additional edits, and the most important one is there was a question as to whether we would be making a payment in lieu for the 4 parking spaces on Main Street that would be eliminated as part of the project, and the answer is yes. So we would be using the rate that's in the 2019 zoning ordinance, which applies to this project, $10,000 per space. So that would be $40,000 payment in lieu for the elimination of those spaces. That's on top of the $70,000 that we would be paying for the 7 parking spaces that we're required to put on site that we're not providing.
All right, so I'm going to take this a little bit differently and maybe not read all of the details, but I will read through some of the modifications and anything that I think is important, and yell if you think there's something important that needs to be read out loud. So this is...
Madam Chair, just so we know, are you reading from the red line version, or are you reading the one that's already incorporated? Not that they're not the same message, but just to...
I'm reading from the red line. And actually, I had printed out my own copy today because I had marked up the other copy, and I think there's still one change that I want to make sure gets noted. So if what I'm reading doesn't match up, I believe it's the exact same thing.
Through the
Mine
chair,
is blue
you have a
copy
clean
versus
version
red,
that accepts
but-
all the red lines, and then the
Yeah.
red line just shows you what the changes were from the last
I'm
version.
looking at it, it looks, other than the fact that my copy's blue, this copy's red, I think they're the same. So it is SC 25-32, City Council Order 18-19-107-135, 19-107-521, and 25-109-554. Site plan. Additional conditions 1 through 33 are found on the following pages. All right, site plan approval conditions. Approved site plans. The site plans referenced at the bottom of this permit shall be the governing plans for the development and construction of the site. The Marlborough Site Plan Review Committee must be notified of any updates or changes to the plan, such as the creation of a 4 construction plan set. Substantive changes may require additional review and approval. Note, the use and site received site plan approval from the council in 2019, approved in accordance with the provisions of the Marlborough zoning ordinance in effect in 2019, a 2023 amendment with respect to the Marlborough Village District does not apply to the use in accordance with MGL Chapter 40A, Sections 5 and 6. And an addition is in the event of a conflict between the terms of the 2019 site plan approval and this permit, the terms of this permit shall govern. Pre-construction meeting, number one, they need to have prior to construction, a pre-construction meeting is to be held with the building commissioner, the city engineer, conservation officer, board of health, police and fire departments, and the site contractor responsible for doing the work. There's the list of the things that they're going to go over during that meeting. Added to it is that they shall provide a proposed written construction, safety, staging, and traffic management plan detailing these items. Said plan to be reviewed for approval by the city as described in condition 25C below the construction plan. Number two, the applicant shall be responsible for securing off-site parking areas for construction personnel to minimize the use of nearby city parking spaces needed for area businesses. This shall be documented in the construction plan. The issuance of the site plan permit and the signatures by the city engineer serves as a stormwater management plan permit required under MGL Section 271. Number four is a pest control plan has to be submitted to the Board of Health. Number five, prior to vertical construction, after footings and foundations, all required private fire hydrants shall be installed and operational and remain operational throughout the construction. Number six, review permits, city council special permit, order of conditions, ZBA variance, or special permit. Construction reporting. Number seven, the applicant shall be responsible for providing weekly construction status reports to the city engineer and other officials. The purpose of the report shall be to keep the city aware of construction activities expected for the upcoming week. Number eight, the report shall include updates to the construction plan whenever necessary. Erosion control, construction, and stormwater. Number nine, those erosion controls, as shown on the plan, shall be installed prior to and inspected at the pre-construction meeting. Number 10, all large stockpiles must be maintained in a stabilized condition with erosion controls in place and approved by the conservation officer. Long-term stockpiles over 30 days will be shape stabilized and circled with erosion controls. Number 11, the applicant shall be responsible for notifying conservation officer if there's any visible siltation to the roadway and street drainage system, and immediate measures will be taken to control the issue. Number 12, landscaping. The approved landscape plan shall be followed. Modifications related shall receive the prior approval of the conservation officer. Number 13, prior to the final sign-off, a registered landscape architect shall certify to the conservation officer that the landscape planting has been installed. An as-built landscape plan prepared and stamped by the landscape architect is required. 14, all landscaped areas shall be served by subsurface irrigation or other means to ensure that the plants planted will survive. 15, following 18 months of the final occupancy permit, any plant material that has died will be replaced with a species of the same kind and size. 16, installation of mulch at the time of planting and thereafter shall be so that the mulch is not in contact with the trunk of newly planted trees and shrubs. Snow removal. Number 17, to ensure safe access for fire and emergency services, the applicant must or shall keep clear of snow and ice the stairs from Devon Street to Main Street and the public sidewalk on Main Street which abuts the site at all times during construction. 18, upon occupancy, the building owner shall be responsible for snow removal from the city stairs from Main Street to Devon Street. Prior to the issuance of the occupancy permit. Number 19, prior to requesting occupancy permit, the applicant or its agents shall clean all nearby drainage pipes and catch basins of accumulated sediment and debris, have a meeting with the conservation officer to inspect the structures to make sure that they are done. Number 20, final restoration of all areas of Main Street and sidewalks across the property frontage shall be complete to the satisfaction of the city engineer. That includes final paving, curb installation, and sidewalk construction, line striping, decorative crosswalk, any streetlights or landscaping that were removed. Number 21, an as-built plan must be submitted to the city engineer for review. They shall be prepared in accordance with the as-built plan standards established by the city engineer, and they are, an as-built landscape plan is also required. Number 22, the maintenance and upkeep of the approved landscaping shall be an ongoing condition required by the landowner and subsequent owners. 23 is operation, hours of operation. All construction is restricted to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, except holidays and Sundays, when all use is prohibited, except with the variance by the Board of Health. Number 24, time for completion. Work as provided for on the approved special, I can't read, I'm sorry, a hand, yes.
Yes.
Counselor
For
Preciado.
hours of operation, I don't know if this has ever been brought up, but is there any way to prohibit construction on holidays? I know there are certain Monday holidays that construction companies love to come in and work on.
It is prohibited. This is language in every single permit. I think it's in the code, and the
But
Board
I
of
know-
Health can deny a request, or they can grant a request for holidays and Sundays.
Yes,
So,
I'm aware that there are variances allowed by the Board of Health. Is there any way to disallow? Is there any way to disallow a variance on a Monday holiday specifically?
on a Monday holiday versus
so
any
it's-
other holiday?
Yeah.
So,
Counselor
Madam
Oster?
Chair, with all due respect, Council Preciado, the goal is to get this done. I mean, I'd rather have it done, and take the 3 holidays and get it finished versus pushing it out later. Again, you're looking at a typical 18-month construction period. We don't want to tie their hands. We want to get the thing built and done and to get them out of downtown.
I understand, Counselor. It's, I think, maybe 4 days out of the year, 5 days out of the year that will be affected, but that's all I'll say on that, I guess. Thank you.
All right. Because I'm not sure how you can exclude, plus I don't think when the code says this is allowed by a variance, that we could say that they can't get the variance. All right, time for completion. Work as provided for on the approved site plans shall be carried into effect and completed within 3 years of the issuance of the permit, unless an extension has been granted by site plan review. Additional conditions, 25, prior to issuance of a building permit. Are we missing something? Or does it go to A, property acquisition and easements required prior to the issuance of a building permit for the construction, the applicant shall acquire all rights to the portions of the property owned by the city of Marlborough as shown on the site plan and the final A&R plan of land. This includes property to be acquired in fee and temporary and permanent easement rights. So I believe this references the stairs that we talk about next. City stair property is B, performance security bond. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall provide to the city engineer a performance security bond issued by a surety licensed for surety business in the amount equal to 100% of the cost to construct or reconstruct the existing city stairs in their entirety from Main Street to Devon Street for the construction or reconstruction and relocation of drain and sewer lines located below said existing stairs. I'm guessing somebody's going to determine what the cost to do that is, to know what the 100% surety is?
That's correct. The city engineer has to approve the final plans for these stairs, and that would be part of the process, is getting the security bond to ensure that if something went wrong, the city had a source of funds to go and complete the work, so it's not left with incomplete stairs.
And number 2 is the certificate of insurance. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall provide to the chief procurement officer a certificate of insurance naming the city as an additional insured, naming the City of Marlborough Department of Public Works, city engineer, with the address on Neal Street as an additional insured in an amount as are required by said Chief Procurement Officer for a liability policy concerning the applicant's demolition and reconstruction of the project stairs in their entirety from Main Street to Devon's, and for the reconstruction and relocation of drain and sewer lines located below said existing stairs. Number 3, prior to the issuance of a building permit for the construction of the building, the applicant shall submit plans deemed acceptable to the city engineer for the construction of the city stairs in their entirety, and the reconstruction and relocation of drain and sewer lines and manholes located below the existing stairs. The location and reconstruction of the stairs and the drain and sewer lines is to be done by the applicant's licensed contractors as part of the building project. The stairs shall be designed to accommodate snow and ice removal. Number 4, the reconstructed stairs shall not include areas under them that would cause trash accumulation or to be used as hiding places. Number 5, the final stair plan shall include security lighting and cameras. These shall be approved on the plan prior to construction and installed prior to first occupancy permit. Number 6, prior to the reconstruction of the stairs, the applicant shall communicate with the abutters who use the stairs to inform them of any restrictions during reconstruction. As the stairs are the second means of egress for certain buildings, this coordination is needed to ensure access required for safety. Number 5. C, construction, safety, staging, and traffic management plan. Number 1, the applicant shall complete the project in accordance with the construction plan referenced in condition 1 above, to be approved by the building commissioner, fire chief, police chief, city engineer. Given the proximity to the site to Main Street and abutting buildings, said construction plan shall include but not be limited to the building demolition phase of the project, which may take place in advance of the construction phase and under a separate demolition permit, and all subsequent phases. 2, the construction plan shall provide detailed information concerning the areas of the site and adjacent property that will be marked off for the staging of construction vehicles, traffic management, detour routes if necessary, construction signage, pedestrian protection, blocked sidewalks, streets, construction fencing to enclose material and equipment, fencing and or barricades to provide limits within the construction site for the separation of construction, pedestrian and vehicular traffic, dedicated illuminated and covered pedestrian walkways adjacent to the structures at egress paths in accordance with the state building code, and off-site parking areas for construction personnel to minimize the use of nearby sitting parking spaces needed for area businesses. Number 3, as part of the construction plan, the applicant shall minimize the use of Devon Street and McAnally Street for construction vehicles and construction activity. Number 6 is green building. The building plans shall show compliance with section 650-34D2M concerning sustainable building design. Prior to the issuance of the building permit, the commissioner shall review the building plans to ensure that the design incorporates green building techniques. E, rooftop mechanicals. On the building plans, the elevation drawings shall show areas reserved for rooftop mechanicals and elevator equipment. Detailed drawings illustrating the type, location, and dimension of fencing screening must be provided. The building commissioner shall confirm that the building drawings conform to the requirements of the zoning ordinance regarding screening of rooftop mechanicals. Noise barriers for these rooftop units shall also be included to minimize any noise to the abutting residents. A noise barrier design shall be included in the detailed drawings required above. Number F, footings. If the footings for the proposed building will be located within the City of Marlborough Public Way layout, the applicant must request and receive from the City Council an easement prior to the issuance of any building permits. Is that still a potential?
I don't believe so. It's helpful to have that language in case, but the design and layout don't indicate that'll be necessary.
Okay, I'm just worried that that's another step we've got to deal with. G, Main Street sidewalk, street, and curb. Prior to the issuance of a building permit for the construction of the building, the applicant shall acquire from the city of Marlborough a street opening permit authorizing access to those portions of Main Street onto or beneath which it intends to perform demolition and/or construction work as shown on the site plan. The street opening permit shall serve as the utility connection permit. Water and sewer entrance fees shall be paid prior to issuance of this permit. H, performance surety bond, security bond. The applicant shall provide to the building commissioner a performance, I got my pages going backwards, security bond issued by a surety licensed for surety business in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in an amount equal to 100% of the cost of the work, including but not limited to milling and repaving of Main Street from curb to curb in front of the building and construction or reconstruction of the sidewalk, crosswalk, parking spaces, underground pipe structures, and appurtenances. I, insurance certificate. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall provide to the chief procurement officer an additional insured in such amounts as are required by said Chief Procurement Officer for a liability policy concerning the applicant's work on Main Street to cover those same things I just mentioned. During construction, A, use of ways during construction consistent with the construction plan, all areas for construction staging and offloading of building materials, as well as any excavations, long-term construction scaffolding, or other obstruction shall be coordinated to maximize public safety and minimize interference with the customary use of public ways by vehicles and pedestrians. Permits are required for any street or sidewalk excavations or obstructions. Police chief shall have the discretion to require additional protection or detail as needed. The applicant shall pay to the city the cost for every police detail. Councilor Preciado.
Just a quick question for the applicant. On that note, is it your intention to have that sidewalk closed off during construction, or would you be able to fit your construction vehicles in there and have that way open?
On the plan that we prepared, there was a two-phase construction during the foundation and erection of the building. We would need to occupy the sidewalk, which was it was a 3-month period. And then after that, we were going to have like a sort of a bridge to protect the sidewalk, and it would be open for pedestrians to the duration of the project.
Okay, thank you.
All right, B is OSHA. All contractors shall abide by OSHA regulations as appropriate. C, safety official. The applicant or its site contractor shall have on the site at all times during construction a qualified construction safety official. Prior to commencement, the applicant shall provide to the building commissioner the name of said construction safety official. 27, parking garages. A, the design for parking garage access shall be such that entering and exiting from the garage is controlled by the site's residents, the property owner, the property owner's agents, and those providing maintenance and other services to the site. The building design shall provide for adequate site distance for vehicles exiting the garage to provide for pedestrian safety. The applicant shall use a combination of doors, gates, speed bumps, and audio-visual alerts at the gate entrance and exit to ensure pedestrian safety. B, the parking garage is to be for the sole use of the residents of the site. The parking garage is not intended for public use. 28, Main Street parking spaces. The site plan indicates that 4 existing parking spaces on the north side of Main Street will be eliminated. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall appear before the Traffic Commission to request a vote to change the existing parking plan accordingly. 29, private open space. Through this decision and in accordance with Section 650-34H4 of the zoning ordinance, the City Council hereby waives strict adherence to the private open space requirements that the exterior ground level portion of the open space must be usable for sitting or recreation based on the unique slope conditions found at the, and I think it needs the word site.
Yep.
at the site. The project will include the following private open space areas: A, 4,251 square feet of exterior lawn and landscaped areas in the rear yard, and B, 3,089 square feet of individual unit balconies with A and B equal to 7,340 square feet, which exceeds the required private open space total of 6,700 square feet. The private open space needs to be accessible per the state accessibility requirements. Number 30, payment in lieu of parking. The project contains 67 residential units and therefore must either A, comply with parking space requirements, or B, make a payment in lieu of parking for each space not provided per section 650-34E of the 2019 ordinance. So they have 36 one-bedroom at 0.75 spaces per unit is 27 spaces. Two bedrooms, they have 31 at 1.25 spaces is 39 spaces for a total required 66. They have 59 on-site. Of the 59 spaces, 59 comply with the requirements based upon the maximum of 33% compact size spaces. The difference between the number of qualifying parking spaces and the parking spaces required is 7. Will be addressed in strict accordance with the old zoning ordinance, which was a payment in lieu of parking equal to $70,000, $10,000 for each of the 7 spaces required but not provided, shall be paid to the City of Marlborough prior to the issuance of the first occupancy for the project. In addition, prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall pay to the City of Marlborough $40,000 for the 4 parking spaces, $10,000 per space, eliminated on Main Street as part of the project. Number 31, work within the public way. All work within the public way layout, including but not limited to the street and all of those other details as shown on the approved plan, shall be completed prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy. 32 is signage. The City Council hereby retains jurisdiction for all signage. Everything has to come before us to make sure that it meets the code. 33, general provisions. A, project changes. The City Council delegates to Site Plan Review Committee the authority to approve minor changes to the approved site plan. City Council designates to Site Plan Review Committee the authority to approve other changes to the approved site plan consistent with future amendments to the zoning ordinance enacted by the City Council, provided that such amended site plan is filed with the city clerk and the City Council, along with written confirmation from the building commissioner that the amended site plan is consistent with the zoning. And number B is enforcements. The City Council designates the building commissioner as the enforcing authority. C, deliveries. In order to mitigate the impact of traffic flow on Main Street and the impact of noise to the residents of and abutters to the site, deliveries to the business on the site shall occur between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. On-site trash collection shall occur twice a week or as required by management or the Board of Health to facilitate disposal demand between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. All possible measures shall be taken to avoid noise and disturbances to residents and neighboring businesses. And that is the end of the conditions. Anybody have questions, comments on those? A lot of that was original. All of the changes you can see are on the red lines.
Madam Chair?
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. There's been a lot of work in bringing this up to date, and I congratulate you folks in getting this into the condition that it's in now, based upon where it was. I agreed with, when it first came in, that I thought it'd be a good addition to the downtown. What we have now is just a hole in the ground, so I think that this would be a big benefit to that and moving forward on this. So good luck going forward. Thank you.
All right, so as I said, we are the site plan approval authority, so we need to approve this. And then site plan review has the ability to make minor changes, but basically this gets them the ability to get going. So, somebody want to move? Counselor Facillo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very excited to see this project get moving, and with that, I move to approve the site plan.
Move to approve with the one minor change of adding that one word.
Yes,
on
with the one,
page 8. Okay.
site, yeah.
Thank you. All right, so Counselor Facillo has moved to recommend approval of the site plan, and it has been seconded. Is there further discussion? Counselor Oram?
Thank you. I know I'm not on the committee, but I've seen already issues with the present situation down on the other side of Main Street. I know it's not your project, but I think it brought out a lot of the interest in having some form of control. You're going to be losing a sidewalk possibly. I've seen the businesses on the other side of Main Street in dire straits because parking was not being enforced. And what concerns me here is it puts the weight on the building commissioner. I think it needs to be reworded to put some of that weight on the police department. And if additional fees are needed to control this situation, like I say, it's not yours, but I've seen many a concern on the other side at the other project on Main Street. Very concerned about the businesses losing parking spaces. Very concerned that you're including two businesses, which is great, but that's going to require parking. I don't think, in my view, it's fair to the businesses on that side of Main Street, and cannot support it. Thank you.
Is there further discussion? All right, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. All those opposed? 1. So Councilor Preciado. All right, so the second piece of this is the stairs, which we have some information on, but not a whole lot.
Madam Chair, I can summarize if it's helpful.
Thank you.
In the packet of materials they distributed is it's titled Plan of Lands, a single sheeter. Is an approval not required plan showing the division of what we're calling the city stair property, where what is labeled as parcel F would be sold by the city to the applicant, and the city would retain what is shown as parcel G, which would be the location of the reconstructed city stairs. I don't know if we can get that up on the screen, but if everyone has a copy of it, might just be easy to look
Everybody
along.
should have gotten a copy. It's kind of small. I actually blew up mine.
That's it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not coming up. Well, we're working on technical assistance. As I mentioned, parcel F is currently owned by the city. It will be sold to the developer for its appraised value, which is $11,600. City would retain parcel G, and as you just read through, the site plan decision requires that we rebuild those stairs. They would remain city property, but we have to do snow and ice removal, and they would be a means of egress from our building, but also for our neighbor, the Warren Block. There are a number of easements that would also be granted by the city within parcel G, construction, obviously, so that we can do the work, and some structural support easements that may be necessary. Those are all detailed in the acquisition schedule that's on that plan. Thank you, Karen, appreciate it. So this is what the plan would look like. There's a draft deed that I've been working on with the city solicitor. I would say we're 99.9% there on the language of the draft deed and easement agreement, which would put in recordable form what you see on the plan in terms of the acquisition schedule. I saw tonight the solicitor put together a single-page order that the council would adopt to authorize the mayor to carry out this transaction. So council has to approve a disposition of city property that the mayor would then execute. And so we need to acquire this property as a condition of the site plan approval that you just voted on earlier tonight. So the request would be a recommendation of the committee to authorize the transaction with the order and the draft deed to be provided by the city solicitor.
So is everybody comfortable with not having that order, but the language really being what Attorney Falk just stated? Councilor Ossing?
So, Madam Chair, I would be, because we're going to be sending it to the solicitor, put in proper formats, as long as the Urban Affairs Committee is comfortable with the intentions of getting the stairs deeded over.
Considering the
package.
solicitor is the one creating that order, I would think it is going to come to us in proper form.
Right, but I mean, as long as everybody's okay with that, that should be good.
All right, so the idea is that we are recommending approval to the council of the parcels.
Madam Chair?
Councilor Doucette?
Thank you very much. Excuse me. So the final wording, I assume, would be showing up at the next city council meeting, or at least the draft of the final wording. So I think at that point, we could, is the expectation then to approve that without having to go to committee? Because we've been doing that for a couple of other items that have come into the council chambers anyway, so.
Right.
If the wording looks good on Monday, we approve it. If there are questions, it goes back to committee, but I don't see any problem with that whatsoever.
Yep, the plan all along has been for the city solicitor to provide the special permit, the site plan, and then this document on the agenda in proper form, so we're ready to vote on Monday. So we can
Excellent.
then start with the timeline that will take this through the next steps with an appeal process and everything else that's potentially there.
Okay.
So,
Motion to adjourn?
no, we still need to move
Oh,
to
we have to move
approve
to-
the
okay.
stair purchase.
Okay. Motion then to approve the stair purchase letter coming from the solicitor in proper
Do we
legal
need to
form.
specify the plan of land and the deed, or is that sufficient?
Maybe specify the plan of land that was submitted to the procurement office and the city council.
The plan of land dated October 2nd, 2025?
That's correct.
So
Okay.
moved.
I'll work with you to get the official language that is coming out of this. All right, so does everybody understand? We're basically just approving the purchase. The purchase amount, I believe you said, was $11,600, and that's been worked through procurement and DPW and everybody else.
That's correct. We had an appraisal done of parcel F, and so that's been submitted to the city, and that was the appraised value of the land.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded to recommend approval to purchase the stair land following the plan of land dated October 2nd, with the specific language of the order on the agenda on Monday. Is there further discussion? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
If I could just, you already know this, but I just wanted to express our gratitude to the Site Plan Review Committee, in particular, City Engineer, Building Commissioner, Conservation Agent, and the City Solicitor, who have really been all hands on deck to work through what we concede is an aggressive timeline to try to preserve the lapse period on this project. And we do appreciate their efforts. They have been very accessible and engaged in this.
Thank you. Yes, they do deserve a special thank you for their special meeting that they pulled off, and Also, I think the developer needs a special thank you for the changes that he made since that meeting, including the handicap access and some changes to the stairs. So good work by everybody to move along. All right, we have one more item on our agenda, which still includes Attorney Falk, but everybody else? So the last item on the agenda is order number 25-109-553, the proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 650 zoning to add a new section to create Ames Village Overlay District. As Attorney Fox stated in his letter to us, this was before us once. It did technically pass at the city council level, but it did not pass because it didn't meet that 90-day without somebody objecting. So it has been before site plan, and I can read site plan's letter, but first I'll see if the solicitor has any comments that he would like to make. You obviously have a presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not a presentation, will be as quick as the hour demands. And you know me, with me is Scott Weiss from Gutierrez Company, affiliate of the petitioner Marlboro Northborough Land Realty Trust. Again, we're proposing the Ames Village Overlay District on 11 acres at the corner of Ames and Forest Street. We had our public hearing, our second round of public hearings before the council and the planning board on October 20th. We had, at both of those hearings, 6 individuals from the neighborhood come out and speak in favor of the petition. These are residents of the single-family neighborhoods nearby who would prefer this to what would be a by right A3 single-family neighborhood. What I just distributed is an exhibit plan that shows the what would be a traditional subdivision and then what we're proposing. When we were before the planning board, one thing they asked, the zoning already calls for 4 acres of vegetated buffer in the rear of the property, in addition to a 50-foot vegetated buffer on the non-street sides of the overlay district. Planning board was concerned, well, what if you put the buildings towards the back, which we thought the zoning prohibited anyway, but to give a level of comfort, we came up with this maximum setback line of 200 feet from the 2 streets. And so that's shown on the exhibit you have there. You can see the dotted lines show the 4 acres of vegetated buffer, and then the dotted line showing the 50-foot buffer, and then finally this 200-foot maximum setback. And that maximum setback would be memorialized with additional language to the overlay district, which we submitted to the planning board. So I believe the planning board's letter of recommendation from November 3rd, recommends that the petition be updated to include that additional language, which we're comfortable with.
All right, so I will begin by reading the letter from the planning board dated November 3rd. Council President Michael Ossing, regarding Council Order Number 25-109-553. At its regularly scheduled meeting on November 3rd, the Planning Board took the following action. On a motion by Dr. Finby, seconded by Mr. Rust, the Board voted to send a favorable recommendation to the City Council on the above referenced proposed zoning amendment for the following reasons. The proponent established to the Planning Board's satisfaction that the proposed amendment was consistent with the Board's 4 zoning amendment evaluation criteria. In the Planning Board's opinion, by keeping the buildings as close as possible to Ames and Forest Street and including the buffer, the potential development is separating itself from the existing single-family neighborhood. See proposed language addition noted below. The board's consensus was that the proponent has mitigated any sense of negative impact on the neighbors by maintaining the open space and leaving a large buffer between its direct abutters. The board's favorable recommendation is conditioned upon the following. Number 1, there shall be a 200-foot maximum building setback from Ames and Forest Street using the proposed language provided by the proponent's counsel. Adding in F4, notwithstanding anything contained herein to the contrary, principal multifamily dwellings in the AOD shall be located within 200 feet from the exterior boundaries of the AOD along Ames Street and Forest Street. The 200-foot maximum setback line running parallel to Ames Street and Forest Street shall be shown on plans submitted to the City Council for a special permit for a multifamily dwelling in the AOD. Areas of the AOD located outside of the 200-foot maximum setback area may be used for grading, drainage, utilities, accessory structures, driveways, parking, resident amenities, and other uses excluding principal multifamily dwellings, subject to the vegetated buffer requirements set forth in paragraph 2, F2. Number 2, that the language regarding story height be modified as follows. In F1I, maximum building height 4 stories exclusive of partially below grade parking level. Number 3, that the
Madam
site...
Chair?
I'm sorry, Council Ossing.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. So that F1I, and Councilor or Attorney Falk, you can correct me, that should be V or 5? The I, because if you go to F1I, it's minimum lot area. F1.5, it's on page 2, is the maximum building
It is,
height.
it's F1V.
V, correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
I've got it marked here, but that is wrong, so that's just a typing error on their part. All right, where was I? That the site plan review committee review the parking requirements of 1.5 spaces per unit and consider increasing it. I just wrote a little comment that I will say right now that I'm not sure that site plan can override code. That the site plan review committee consider implementing the following conditions on their potential approval: solar street signs near the site, crosswalk enhancements near the site, vegetated roadway screenings along the project frontage, improvements related to curb appeal, and that the site plan review committee, in conjunction with the conservation officer, review the site for invasive species and make recommendations on removal and maintenance. I think all of those things can be part of the special permit if this is approved as the zoning change first. In addition, the board discussed the difficulty in assessing whether or not a particular zoning amendment benefits the city as part of their required analysis without the input of a city planner or an entity providing the services of a city planner. The board's determination that the proposed zoning amendment benefited the city was based upon the current. The board acknowledged the benefit of having the input of a city planner when making recommendations concerning future potential zoning amendments. Yay. Fay, Finby, Fortin, Hughes, LaVenture, Russ. Nays. Motion carried 6-0. Sincerely, Sean Fay, chairperson. I don't really want to get into a discussion on the city planner, but I had looked this up, and I think the city planner left in the early 2000s, so we've been out without one for a number of years, and this is the first time the board has brought it up, and they've been doing their job without one, in my opinion, very well. So, it is a recommendation. It's not mandated we accept their recommendations, but we will bring them up as I go through the actual language to determine if we agree with them. So, this is a zoning change pursuant to Section 5 of Chapter 40A. The City Council of the City of Marlborough, having received a petition to amend the zoning ordinance as amended, now ordains that the zoning ordinance be further amended as follows. Chapter 650, Article 6, entitled Special Districts, Overlays, and Special Requirements, is hereby amended by inserting a new Section 650-39.2 entitled Ames Village Overlay District, which shall read as follows: 650-39.2 Ames Village Overlay District. A, the purpose and objectives. We've been through this, the public has heard it. Does anybody need me to read the purpose and objective out loud again? Can we just, you all know what it says. We know exactly why we want to do this. The location, the underlying zone. So this is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Ames and Forest Street, containing approximately 11 acres, depicted in Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated by this reference. It is specifically the provisions of the zoning ordinance related to the underlying zoning district not otherwise impacted shall continue to remain in full force and effect. C, the authority of the permit granting authority. The city council shall be the special permit granting authority in the AOD. The site plan review shall be conducted administratively in accordance with 270-2, which means site plan review committee. The city council may elect to vary the dimensional parking design and landscaping requirements applicable to a use or structure by a special permit upon finding that such change shall result in an improved design and will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent or purpose of the section. D, the use regulations. Uses allowed by right in the underlying zoning district are permitted by right. Uses allowed by special permit in the underlying zoning district may be permitted by special permit, and by special permit, multifamily dwellings as defined in 655B, including multifamily buildings on a single lot, provided that the total number of multifamily dwelling units in the AOD shall not exceed 90. Affordable housing, notwithstanding any provisions in the zoning ordinance, the multifamily dwellings in the AOD shall be subject to the affordable housing standards of 650-26. Dimensional standards. Number one, notwithstanding any provisions in the zoning ordinance to the contrary, multifamily dwellings in the AOD shall be subject to the following: minimum lot area of 100,000 square feet, minimum lot frontage of 100 feet, minimum front yard or setback from a public way 20 feet, minimum side and rear yard 50 feet, and here's where number one change from the planning board: maximum building height 4 stories, exclusive of parking level is what's there. They are suggesting we change it to read 4 stories exclusive of partially below grade parking level. And you're okay with that as a?
Yes, this came up at the planning board's hearing, and that's language that we suggested based on the questions they were having. They wanted clarity about what the parking level would be that wouldn't be part of the 4 stories. We're going to have 4 residential stories. The parking would be separate from that, and they wanted clarity on that, and we're going to plan to take advantage of the grade where, we'll be at grade in the front of the building, and in the back we'll be partially exposed. That's how you get into the parking below grade. So planning board felt comfortable with that language for that clarification.
Okay, and is the council okay with adding that partially below grade between of and parking? We're good? Okay, so we'll leave that one. And then maximum lot coverage is 50% over the entire AOD. Number 2 is notwithstanding anything contained herein or in the zoning ordinance, there shall be a vegetated buffer with the minimum width of 50 feet and a total minimum area of 4 acres located along the exterior boundary of the AOD, excluding boundaries along public ways for multifamily dwellings. The vegetated buffer shall remain in its natural state, free from structures and impervious surfaces, may be used for stormwater management and underground installation to the maximum extent practical. Existing mature vegetation shall be maintained. Special permits and site plan approvals for multifamily dwellings within the AOD may require additional screening deemed necessary to minimize the visual impacts of such development on neighboring properties. Number 3, notwithstanding anything contained herein or in the zoning ordinance, there shall be no yard or setback requirements, planting strips, or vegetated buffers required as to any internal lot lines for multifamily dwellings within the AOD. And this would be where we would take up the planning board's other suggestion to add in a new number 4, where they are saying, again, notwithstanding anything contained, principal multifamily dwellings shall be located within 200 feet from the exterior boundaries of the AOD along Ames and Forest. The 200-foot maximum setback line running parallel to Ames and Forest shall be shown on plans submitted to the City Council for a special permit for a multifamily dwelling. Areas of the AOD located outside that setback may be used for grading, drainage, utilities, accessory dwellings, accessory structures, driveways, parking, resident amenities, and other uses excluding principal multifamily dwellings subject to the vegetated buffer. Everybody's okay with that one? All right. The other one, no, okay. Environmental, G is environmental soil regulations. All developed areas are subject to applicable state and federal laws, as they may apply to properties with historic orchard operations, including soil management protocols. H is landscaping regulations that talks about our zoning code, that they must follow. I, parking regulations. Notwithstanding any provisions in the zoning ordinance to the contrary, the minimum parking requirement for multifamily dwellings in the AOD shall be 1 1/2 spaces per unit.
Madam Chair,
Councillor Doucette.
based upon what the planning board said, could we change that to 1.7 spaces per unit?
What the planning board is recommending is that the site plan review committee review the parking requirements. I actually looked at the code. The code 65048 off-street parking says in A7, multifamily, 1 space per dwelling plus 1 space per bedroom. So that actually increases more than the planning board's requirement. This says minimum. It doesn't say what the maximum is, which is what we would put into the special permit language.
The maximum, or, so we could up this number for the special permit, is what you're saying?
We could. We could require them to meet the code, which would be 1 space per dwelling plus 1 space per bedroom.
And through the chair, the 2 projects ago, Lazat Drive Overlay District has the same parking requirement you saw there. The applicant came back when they did the math with more parking as, a proposal. 1.5 is industry standard, and we're comfortable that it would work here as a minimum, but, when we come forward with a special permit, if we get to that stage, we can evaluate parking in detail based on the specific buildings that we're designing.
And I think we had a lengthy discussion about parking the last go-around and decided to leave this there and never got to the next step for the actual special permit. I know in many places we have required more spaces than necessary, and we're finding in a lot of places it's unused pavement because nobody parks there. In other areas, they're actually begging for more parking spaces, so it's kind of it depends on the location. Is everybody okay leaving this as minimum parking and dealing with the specificity if we get to the next step?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Modifications. After approval, applicants may seek modifications to any approved special permit or site plan approvals and special permits. Major modifications may be granted by a vote of the city council. Minor modifications go to the building commissioner, as is typical language in all of our zoning changes. Number 3 is site plan approval. Major or minor modifications to a site plan approval shall be subject to the provisions of 270-2 of the code. And number 2 of the zoning changes, the zoning map described in 658 is amended as stated herein and in Exhibit A annexed hereto. The newly established Ames Village Overlay District shall include portions of the property shown on the assessor's map as existing at the passage of this ordinance, which property includes Assessor's Map 89, parcels 80 through 88, Assessor's Map 89, parcels 90 through 99, Assessor's Map 100, parcel 15, Assessor's Map 100, parcel 24, Assessor's Map 100, parcel 25, and Assessor's Map 100, parcel 26. And 3, the city clerk is authorized to assign other numbering for the new section 650-32.2 as deemed appropriate for sequential ordering in the zoning ordinance. And 4, the effective date shall be the date of their passage. Okay, so Questions, comments? We've done this once.
Madam Chair?
Counselor Doucette.
I think that this has been a very good proposal for development. I think this, if we put a whole bunch of housing in, there'll be individual housing that people have a hard time affording. While if it's condominiums, there'll be more houses, hopefully at a better price and more affordable. So I think it's better to have the affordable housing. I think the setbacks that was set up to keep it within the framework, I think that's a fair way to, at this point, limit what needs to be done, what can be done with this property. So motion to approve.
Do you have a motion, or are you?
I am motion to approve.
All right. Counselor Doucette has moved to approve recommending the zoning change as I just went through and as amended with input from the
With the amendments proposed by
Planning
the
board.
planning board, yes.
Is there, I will second that. Is there discussion? Questions? Counselor Navin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate your persistence. I also want to note, I appreciate the support of the residents that you guys worked with that came out to support this, especially the direct abutters, and certainly appreciate the green space that you're working to maintain. I should also note, I've heard from people that do oppose the project, but I do note that the people who did come to the public hearing were in support of it. I continue to remain concerned about this project, or the zoning change, I should say. Its impact on our infrastructure, our emergency services, and I continue to believe that the single-family housing that was originally proposed, that this parcel is zoned for, remains to be the best use for this parcel. So that is why I will continue to oppose this project. But I do want to thank you guys for the work that you put in, the work that you've done with the planning board to really hold this development to the edge of the road and maintain that buffer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Further discussion? Counselor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the ward councillor for where this project would be built, I continue to stand by my constituents, and I liked the project originally, and I just feel like the provisions that the planning board put in there makes it even better for me, so I continue to support. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, here, Counselor Ossing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I support the project as I did the last time, and I can't emphasize it enough. We're looking at a $700 increase to the average tax bill. We want to pay $350 a month to the average tax bill for a new school, an additional $140 a month to a year for the average tax bill for a new fire station. The budget's going to go up $10 million a year, which is about $300 to $400 a year. We need a pipeline of projects. You cannot like a project, I get it, it's okay. But look into that camera and say how you're going to do it. Are you going to raise taxes? You won't cut the budget. The whole budget last time, I made the $1.4 million worth of cuts. No one wanted to cut anything. We've done extremely well to this point, and we can't lose that momentum. So I'm asking you, think hard when you're going to say no on these projects. Is it a real no, or just someone's chirping in your ear no? Because remember, you're representing the large folks, 41,000 people you represent. So I encourage the Council of Urban Affairs to support the project, or to support the zoning. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and I
Chair.
will remind everybody the letter that the solicitor had sent, that the vote, the quantum vote is 6 for this, rather than a typical 8. Counselor Orem?
Yes, we were provided a handout tonight, and with the conventional layout, it shows on Forest Street a property that will not be part of this property, but it doesn't show that same property, excuse me, on the requested special permit property. What's going on there?
Through the chair, that property will be part of this. That's under agreement to purchase, so that will be part of it. What you're seeing there, that just shows if the overlay district didn't go through and a conventional subdivision was built, that house would likely stay where it is. It would just have some neighbors. But it will be incorporated as part of the overlay district and part of the project.
Thank you for the explanation. It was kind of confusing. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further questions? Counselor Vidal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having worked about a quarter mile from here and having my cross-country team run around this corner a lot, I know this, I almost could run it blindfolded. Having these, if the houses on Ames by that corner there, traffic goes very fast down there because people are trying to beat the green light, beat the red light. So they go fast coming down Cimarano Drive, across Forest, and then onto Ames. They go quite fast. Having residential houses there and children potentially playing there is incredibly dangerous. That's not the only reason I support this project, but as I look at this from a safety perspective, this housing development, it doesn't fit there. There's not another residential house or road going into a residential development off of Ames Memorial. So it really just doesn't fit with the whole, from Route 20 at Ames all the way to Cimarano Drive. There's no residential houses anywhere on that whole hill going up there. So if we had to put this in, it would just be an eyesore, in my opinion, compared to what's already there. The plan that they're proposing fits in right along with all the other developments that's been done on Ames Memorial Drive. I think it's a no-brainer.
I would agree. I think the issue is that what the photo of the subdivision, back when this was approved by the planning board?
Correct.
I have to remember who has jurisdiction. There was not an attempt to purchase the property, so they built around that property when they designed this, and that's why the house is showing. They have since gone and pursued purchase of the property so that they could build proposed. And that's why the difference. Anybody else with questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of recommending approval? 1, 2, 3. And those opposed? 2, 3 to 2, so. All right. So I can have this as, in part of my report on Monday, ask for, I can see if the solicitor needs to put it in proper form again, because I guess we're amending, so it will need to be referred, and then it could be on our first meeting in December, which then gives us the ability to use the second meeting if we need to.
I was just say, through the chair, I have been keeping the solicitor up to date on the changes that the planning board recommended. So we're really talking about one change, one insertion, or two. There's the height clarification and then that new paragraph. So he's certainly has plenty to do, but since it was in final legal form before with those two changes, I think there's a possibility you might get a submission, by Thursday in time for Monday's meeting.
All right, so we'll play it by ear. If it's on the agenda because the solicitor has been able to make the changes and is comfortable with everything, then we vote for it. Otherwise, I'll move to suspend and refer it at Monday's meeting. So at this point, I'm going to say I'm going to move to suspend, but if I don't need to, then we can just vote. I'll have to suspend a vote, but I can still do that. So, all right, perfect.
Very much.
Thank you. So that takes care of everything on this agenda. I will be working with Attorney Falk to set
Motion
up
to adjourn.
another meeting so we can take back up the other item and then set up other. So it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are adjourned at 9:54.